Hello, my Teaserking family. How's everybody today? Sorry, I was just doing that and I got an email I had to respond to and a phone call I had to make. So I apologize for that, but I didn't want to get too far into the video and I didn't want to waste time waiting to answer the email or make a phone call. So I'll apologize there. Anyway, so many topics we can talk about today, whatever you're interested in. The NBA playoffs, the NFL draft, poker, the rounders that I've been picking at, the gold, the silver, the banks. I saw an interesting thing on BlackRock that we all hate. Let's see. Let me go to my library. So there was two interesting ones. First, the BlackRock bank run, where they're basically going broke because of, again, the housing market going broke, and they bought all these houses. So good news is BlackRock is in trouble, which is great news because they're dictators, right? Hey, Eric. Stanley Cup, man, I have no idea. Normally, you take the best goalie, and that normally wins. Hockey is one of these sports that the best team very rarely wins, and it's all about the goalie and the defense. So I would just bet the best goalie, but I don't really get much into the NHL playoffs like I used to. Bobby Orr's not playing, so I would just bet the hottest goalie. So anyway, so BlackRock is $13 trillion collapse. So we like seeing that because he's the one pushing for this climate and this ESG, I think, and trying to run the new world order and bankrupt everybody. And now he's $13 trillion collapsing because they bought all these houses that are collapsing that people aren't paying. And so they're losing big time, which is good. Also, Blackstone, which I think they're different, is also collapsing. So anything to do with houses is collapsing because of the interest rates going up. Then there's one here, which was, does the government track the gold, right? Government tracks your gold. The answer is no. There's no mechanism in it. When I go to the gold store, when Bobby buys the silver gold online, there is no tracking mechanism to know Professor's got 5 ounces, Bobby bought 10 ounces. There's nothing out there that they are tracking us. So we basically, you buy your small amounts and you put it in your safe and off you go, and then you're fine. So no, we're not being tracked. And I think we're going to be fine with our quarter ounce, half ounce, tenth of an ounce gold. When we sell it, I don't think we'll be $10.99 on that. I just think the ounce. The government's really looking for the bigger, the James Bond brick of gold is what they're looking for. I don't think they're really looking at Professor selling a half ounce of gold at $20,000. I don't think they really are looking or care about that. It's the big amounts that are being sold. So we're safe there. Now in this, he says, well, what you should do is do IRAs. No, you shouldn't do IRAs. You shouldn't do ETFs or IRAs for gold and silver. You shouldn't do anything that you don't receive the physical. The only thing you want to do is get the physical. Otherwise, you don't own the physical. And if it's in your IRA, you don't have the physical. And therefore, without the physical, you don't have anything. You think you do, but you don't. It's all made off. It's a scam. You don't own. If you think you own gold in an ETF, I got some oceanfront property here. You don't own any gold in an ETF. And that's where they're trying to scam you. Larry Fink sold $25 million in stocks. Well, I mean, BlackRock's $13 trillion collapse. So uh, they're in big fucking trouble. Thank God, because they're the Nazis trying to control everybody. J.P. Morgan is going to be fucked when the dollar collapses. How is he going to print? So we're getting rid of all these Nazis who are wanting to rule the world. Bill Gates owns a bunch of farmland, but who cares? He's not farming it, so that's all going to be worthless. Warren Buffett has $2 billion in the Titanic. So 2 billion times zero gives you how much? So Buffett, again, this is what we talked about yesterday with trends, right? So I do football trends, as you know, as I've stated, and they're not good because if I look at New England, for 10 years, it's Tom Brady. All of a sudden, the last 2 or 3, he's on Tampa. I can't use the New England trends because he's not there. Now I got to use the 3-year-old Tampa Bay trends, but I can't use them this year because Brady's not there. So I can't use the Tampa trends or that trend. So this whole thing of looking at trends is ridiculous. So what Warren Buffett's trying to do is say, the stock market's going to fall and housing's going to fall and I'm going to buy things cheap. That's what he's trying to do. But he misses the point that you can't use the Titanic to do it because I've started with a whole dollar, as you know, and now we're down to, let's see, I think I got one more little piece of paper here. So we started with this, and I don't even think I can hold it all now. Okay, so we started with this. And then this is what's happening to the dollar. And now we're left with this. But we understand it. That's what inflation is. You're ruining the value of the dollar. You're devaluing it. Warren Buffett doesn't understand that. He thinks it's prices. So he's missing the most important concept. Or Tom Brady's not on Tampa anymore. You can't use the Tampa trends. That's what he's missing. Hey, Bobby Bo. Well, I had to take a phone call about the Harley Davidson. Apparently, I forgot one of the forms, so I had to go on my email, and they gave me like 10 forms to do. And anyway, so I had to straighten that out. I didn't want to, go 3 hours and then answer it. I wanted to get it nailed first, so I took care of that. So that's why it's a short. I got to delete it, so hopefully people will just ignore it. But anyway, so again, Warren Buffett is looking at Tom Brady still on Tampa, right? He's saying, or Tom Brady's still on New England. Peyton Manning's still on Indy. He's not understanding the why and how things change and the variables, right? This is what I and Nick have a conversation on is the variables, right? Eric, what kind of Harley Davidson you have? I don't have one. I got a job finally working there, and I'm going to work remote. So I could basically work anywhere remote and be working for Harley Davidson. Right now, it's a contract job. The pay is fantastic. The job should be just like Mercedes. So I need SAP and Excel experience, which I did a ton of at Mercedes. So should be a very good job for me, but I don't own a Harley. I didn't own a Mercedes either, but I think they're pretty recession proof. So when the inflation hits, you're still going to buy Mercedes. You're still going to buy Harley. You're still going to buy the Bobby Bo gym shoe because it doesn't matter the cost. So the people with the money, until they realize their money is worthless, that's going to take some time. So anyway, so what Warren Buffett's doing, he's thinking it's the same thing. He's not analyzing the different variables. So I was going to say is me and Nick, that's what he wanted to math it. And that's what I keep saying is I told him you can't because of the variables. You have to adjust. Now you need to be on Tampa, you need Peyton Manning on Denver, you need Russell Wilson now on Denver, and that's what you do. So that's what Buffett's not doing. So his $2 billion is going to be worth zero. If he's in gold, he could buy whatever he wants very cheaply, but he's not. He doesn't know what he's doing. And thinks, see, everybody, what I think upsets me the most, everybody thinks because you're a billionaire, you're smart. And if you don't have a billionaire, you're not smart. And I think I proved that point. I'm not a billionaire. So I don't think you need to have $1 billion to be smart. On the other hand, just because you are a billionaire doesn't make you smart. It all depends. If you understand Austrian economics and gold, you're smart no matter how much money you have. And that's really the key to it, and understanding the variables change. So you can't just look at the graph of 08, 09 saying, well, it's going to repeat. You can't do that. It doesn't work like that. So let's see what other little videos I got here. Erica Deal. I have some Harley Davidson stock. I would get rid of it if you made money on it, because I don't want anybody in the stock market, because it's going to crash. Because what'll happen is people are going to need cash. So your house is losing value, and hopefully, but it's okay. If you own the house, you'll be okay. But the stocks are going to crash. I mean, I'm sure Harley's not going to make earnings because sales will drop. And if sales drop, the stock's going to go down. So that's really the key to it, right? So I would hope you made money in Harley, and I would advise you to get out of it and buy gold and silver with the money, and then you could get back into it after the market crashes. But see, to people who want to buy gold miners, the guy in the airport in Barcelona from Philadelphia. So I own silver miners. Should I keep them? Because if the price of gold and silver goes up, the stocks will go up. I go, yeah, but at first, all the stocks are going to get hit. You're going to sell your portfolio. I need money, so they sell everything. Every stock gets hit. And then once that happens, now, yes, gold and silver will go up. Then you can go back, buy back in. That would be my recommendation. But get out of the market, because when it crashes, everything's crashing. There's not, well, Microsoft won't crash, or Tesla won't crash. Tesla's already crashing because he can't sell electric vehicles. So it makes you wonder about Tesla, or about this guy, how smart he really is when he doesn't understand. He's making electric vehicles that there's no demand for. So you wonder how smart he is. Anyway, so that's what is my advice with the stocks, bonds. Now you got to keep in mind, it's these other countries that have a lot of this. I got to get out of like videos and go into watch history. So they're about to really kill Biden because they have all this laptop proof that Hunter was in bed with the Chinese and the Russians, and then Joe knew about it, and they're going to really kill this guy. BlackRock's $13 trillion collapse. I talked about earlier, Bobby, is the government does not track our gold and silver purchases. There's nothing set up to track it. So if you pay cash for it, it doesn't go anywhere, it doesn't go to the IRS. Nobody knows you have it. So we won't tell anybody. China and Japan hold less and less. So they're getting out of the bonds, which we know about. So that's nothing new. All the countries are. I love this one. Biden can barely speak, walk, or make gestures. Why do millions of men not want to work? I didn't really get into that one. Russia mobilizing 400,000 new soldiers, but they're just trying to get them. They don't have 400,000. They're trying to get them. So that's what I was watching earlier. And And the liked ones, yeah, Ron Johnson breaks Biden with all the old stuff that says Hunter Biden helped all these electric. The mayor of Moscow met with Joe Biden. He denied it. BlackRock $13 trillion collapse just started. The Fed fumbles the 50-year. Well, that we knew from yesterday's show. Okay. Let's check our gold. The gold update. Gold prices. Gold's up. Silver's up 3 cents, 25.15. Again, this is make believe, not real. And look at our 10 o'clock drop on gold. Boom, right on schedule. London does its little 10 o'clock drop. Knocked it down to 1977, but it jumped right back to, it's now at 1985. So look what happens at 10. 10 is fake. 10 is them selling all their little options, and then it immediately jumped back. So there's no support at 1977. Again, this is fantasy derivative gold, not the real McCoy. So keep that in mind. So silver's there. I saw this article, which I thought was really like, this is how stupid they think people are. This is JP Morgan. Oh, you're seeking at least 7% dividend yield. Really? I'm getting a commercial. Seeking at least 7% dividend yield. JP Morgan suggests 2 dividend stocks to buy. So not only is the money not going to be worth anything, the stock market's going to crash. What good is 7%? See, this is what they throw at you to take you off the hunt. Do they say buy gold? You know how much do you not realize you're going to make a lot more than 7% on the gold? I mean, we're talking at least triple digits on the gold, at least, right? Gold's going to go from 2,000 to 4,000 is 100%, and it's going to go way past that. Silver, to go up 100%, you bought it at 25, goes to 50, you made 100%. Well, we know it's going at least to 1,000. So look at the returns you're going to be getting on silver or gold. And here, JP Morgan saying, oh, you buy these dividend stocks, you get 7%. Like it's a big deal. And that's like what I told when I went to Fifth Third to get money out for more gold and silver. The guy says, oh, well, you can put it in, what do you call it? Starts with an A, but I can't think. And you can get 9% in an annuity. That's what it is. You can get 9% in an annuity. I go, I don't want the money. 9% of this is nothing. I don't want 9% of this. And I know I'm going to make, 1,000% in gold and silver. So why do I want 9% in annuity? But notice how JP Morgan and the guy, neither of them said buy gold. Why not? Well, the guy at the bank gets commission if I buy the annuity. JP Morgan, I don't know what the hell he's thinking. Again, not telling you to buy gold is just absolutely freaking ridiculous. So that's what you have with those idiots. And now what I would do is look at, look at eBay gives you a little bit. It's not really the market. It's kind of the market, but it isn't, because eBay will show you what a gold or silver coin is selling for now, but they're using the derivative COMEX to start the value, not the Russian, Chinese physical market. So let's look at the let's go back. How the fuck do I go back? Oh, okay. So you want to see, this is why it's hard to listen, because people will tell you to buy an annuity or to look at these stocks, you'll get 7%, and people will get excited and they'll run to them without understanding the option of gold giving you 1,000% return with no risk. The stocks could go down. So let's say you buy a stock and you're getting 7%. Let's say Coca-Cola and you get a 7% dividend and the stock's $50 a share. So you buy shares to get the dividend, but let's say the shares go down to $30 or $20. Yeah, you get 7%, but you've let's say you invested 50. Let's say it's $50 a share and you bought 1,000 shares, so that's $50,000 to get your 7%. Now the stock went down to $20 a share. Now you have $20,000, not $50,000. You've lost $30,000 to get 7% on your 1,000 shares. So you pick up what, $700 a year, and you just lost 30,000. Is that a good investment? See, again, it's Madoff and Attack on Wall Street all over again. You can get the dividend, but if the stock goes down, or if I'm an annuity and the money goes down, I'm not getting anything. So in that instance, it's the same thing. The stock price drops because the markets are going to get crushed. The stock price drops, your dividend, who cares? It's 7%. It doesn't. I've lost 30,000 in my stock value. Oh, well, you don't need to sell, you don't lose until you sell. Well, really? Well, okay. You're pretty much screwed anyway. So that's kind of what they don't tell you, and they think everybody's stupid and sitting in money, and that's the problem. That's why I tell you to get out of the stock market and get out of money, get off the Titanic. It's all tied: stocks, bonds, crypto, money in the bank. It's all tied to the Titanic. It's all this. And you don't want to be in it. That's why you're in gold and silver. You're never going to have, it went to zero. It's been around since the Romans. It ain't going to gold. It's not going to zero. If anything, so Putin got 15,000 ounces of gold and he's an idiot all of a sudden and it's going to go to zero, and China has 40,000 tons of it and you think there's a risk. So that's really what you're looking at is they bought a lot of it. They, give them some credit. We know gold's the king. It's the Mercedes, it's the Harley Davidson, it's the Bobby Bow running shoe. It's, it's the king. And that's really what you have to understand. If you understand that, you don't even own any of this shit because this is all going to zero. So as I'm saying, Buffett's $2 billion in dollars is going to go to zero. And Gates's farmland, what's that going to do? Is he out there plowing all his land? No, he's just sitting there. He's buying it up so nobody can produce, and he thinks he's going to make money on it. And I'm still trying to figure out, okay, so if the dollar goes to zero, and I know we're going to make a fortune on gold and silver, how is he going to make any money on his farmland that he's just sitting on? Hard to believe he's spending all the money that he's buying the farmland to actually farm it, right? So he's not actually farming the farmland. It's just sitting there. How is that going to make money? Who's going to go buy his farmland? Oh, we need food. No. Kellogg's or somebody like that's going to own the farmland, but not me and you aren't going to go buy his farmland. So I don't know where he thinks he's going to make money on it. You buy real estate. What they mean by that is you buy a house, which is a real asset, which is supposed to go up in an inflationary time. But because, anything that it takes more dollars to buy goes up because you need more dollars to buy it. But in this case, the houses has already put all that into it. It's already went from 300 to 500, right? So the inflation effects is already in the house. But now you got the interest rates going up, which is killing the value of the house. The interest rates didn't go up. Yes, it would be fine. So we're happy BlackRock is 13 trillion in debt and going out, and we're happy that Warren Buffett will be broke. All these crazy people are going to lose their ass. JP Morgan, once gold goes and he can't print the paper anymore because nobody wants it. He'll be hurt, which is good news. So things are looking up. The war with the Ukraine and Russia, I hear from both sides. Russia wants 400,000 troops. Good luck getting them. Where are they going to get them from? Who's going to go on Russia's side? Iran, because you're really fighting the U.S. And I was watching something where the U.S. they're not giving the Ukraine attack weapons; they're giving them defend weapons. So when the missile comes overhead, they can shoot the missile down, but they're not giving them stuff that would actually fire into Russia or attack. They're more defense. So the U.S. bumbling again. God knows what they're doing, prolonging a war, and they think it's a good thing because they can make money on the defense contractors, I guess. I don't know. It's so stupid. Anyway, NBA playoffs, just to change it, and we can go back to anything that you guys want. So I was watching a little yesterday, and I was looking at the spread. So the Knicks won 102-93, and they now lead 3-1. Game 4. Game 5 will be in Cleveland. Cleveland has their backs against the wall. I can't name one player on Cleveland, so I don't know if they're a good bet backs against the wall. Are they capable of winning? If they are, that would be a good bet, taking Cleveland in Game 5. I'll get a line on that in a minute. I'm looking at yesterday's results. So the Knicks winning go up 3-1. Cleveland's in a must-win. The Knicks can lose, and they'll be up 3-2, and the game's in Cleveland. That's what we're looking for. So take Cleveland in Game 5, but we got to look at the line. Here, Golden State does win, but doesn't cover the 7. They blew them out in the third quarter, and then Sacramento came back in the fourth quarter. So 126-125. The series is tied at 2. Sacramento, the way they came back, I think this is looks like an over series, 126-125. And the later it goes, I think the more overs these will be. So we cannot take Golden State in a must-win game, laying 7, only won by 1. So I can't trust Golden State. And the Kings must be very strong to get down like 10 and then make it a game in the fourth quarter. So let's see. So Game 5 should be in Sacramento. Depends what the line is. We'll see how strong they are. But this looks like probably Sacramento Game 5, Golden State Game 6, and then maybe the over or Sacramento game. It depends what the line is if I take Golden State. Let's see. Boston beats Atlanta 129-121. Boston leads 3-1. I don't think Atlanta is capable of winning this Game 5, but if they are, this is the only game you can bet. Atlanta game back against the wall, they must win. But I can think of, Boston's like the best team and Atlanta sucks. So I don't know that I really want to, this is why this round's hard, because this round's not, you got to get rid of the 8 seeds and all that and get to 1 place 4, 2 place 3. Then you can bet the loser back and the backs against the wall with much more confidence. Like here, how much confidence do I have in Atlanta? They had to win yesterday, and they lost 129-121. Line was 7.5. They won by 8. How coincidental. And now the Game 5's in Boston. I'd look for them to beat them. And then Minnesota-Denver. Minnesota with their back. Wow, look at this one. Interesting. Denver leads the series 3-1 now. Minnie was a 4.5-point dog, and then they win 114-108. And that's what my whole point is. So Denver was up 3-0 yesterday. Minnie was a home dog in a must-win game, and they win by 6. So now Game 5's at Denver. I would think Denver wins, and they don't want to go back to Minnie for Game 6. So now that we did that, let's go to today's games. Now, I don't know anything about injuries. I am just looking at this. So we got Milwaukee 7 over Miami. Miami's up 2-1, and Milwaukee's a big favorite. Interesting. Game 4. So if Miami wins tonight, they go up 3-1 and basically won the series. Milwaukee, who I think is the 1 or 2 seed, has their back against the wall. They're laying 7 at Miami. This is really interesting. So it's showing you that Miami's is pretty strong here that they're up 2-1 and they're playing game 4 at home. So this is game 4. So I would be careful with Milwaukee laying 7 here. If Miami was favored, I'd be all over Milwaukee. But here, you got Milwaukee laying 7 at Miami. I wouldn't be surprised if Miami wins this one and go up 3-1. Then we battle on Milwaukee. So this is not a game I would be interested in betting. The Lakers, 4.5 over. Who are the Grizzlies? They're still Vancouver, Tennessee, whoever they are. The Lakers are up 2-1. The game's in LA, and they're laying 4.5 over. I think it's Memphis. Okay, Memphis Grizzlies. This game I wouldn't. I don't care about. LA wins. They're up 3-1. Then I bet Memphis in game 5 big. I can't bet Memphis here. Their back's against the wall, but it's in LA. I'm gonna lay away. Let's see if there's lines for Tuesday. Yes, there are. Okay, so let's go forward. Tuesday, Boston 12.5 over Atlanta. Boston's up 3-1. Game 5 at home. This is to put them away. Atlanta's got their backs against the wall. I think Atlanta might cover 12.5. They have to win, but the game's at Boston. But 12.5 seems like a high number. Now, I don't know any player on any team. Larry Bird ain't there anymore, and neither is Dominique Wilkins. So I don't know, but I would think that 12.5 in an elimination game for Atlanta, they should cover that. Denver 9 over Minnesota. Denver's up 3-1. And then isn't this the one Minnesota won yesterday? So here I could see Denver finishing them out. They don't want to go back to Minnesota, as I said. They're up 3-1. So they got their loss. Game 4, mini wins. Now game 5 at Denver. Denver wants to finish them, and I would like Denver. Phoenix and the Clippers. Phoenix is up 3-1. They're laying 12. They're at home in game 5. It's a must win, but it is a big number. Again, I don't know about the injuries, and I haven't watched the series, so I'm going to stay away from this. This is a tough number to lay 12, and their backs are not against the wall. San Diego's backs are against the wall, so I would not take Phoenix in this one laying the 12. Not that they won't blow them out, but when your back's against the wall like San Diego's are, you're down 20. To get down 12 in basketball is nothing. So that's what I see there. And as it gets going, we'll get more into the next round is where we'll start making our bets and our locks. Last year, our 50-unit lock and was gold. So this was the NBA Finals. It was Golden State and Toronto, I believe. Golden State had them in game 1, and they were up like 10 and lost the game. And so Golden State had to win game 2 or it was going to Toronto, and they'd be up 2-0, and they were laying 4. And that was my 50-unit lock. Take Golden State laying the 4, and they won by 30. There you go. That's almost as good as gold, that one. So that's what we have there. But it's hard, like here, Boston's the 1 seed. Atlanta's the 8 seed. Well, it's hard to bet on an 8 seed. There's an 8 seed because they suck. So it's hard to take them. But if we're doing Boston-Milwaukee and it's 1-2, and now and Boston's up 3-1 on Milwaukee, and Milwaukee needs the game, then you take 12.5. You won't see it 12.5, but that's when you at least have a team capable of winning, right? It's like the playoffs, Kansas City, Cincinnati, Philadelphia, Frisco. You're taking teams that are good, and you're saying, oh, they're a dog. I'm going to take them. You're here. You're not. So be apprised of that. NFL draft, again, they've got it all wrong. You take defense, and I'm not going to research the Washington State defense, the Iowa State, Georgia. I'm just not going to research it. Georgia lost so many players. I think 9 or 10 players to the draft on defense last year. I think they have 1 or 2, but they look like they just get a fast, strong guy. Maybe they're getting running backs, and they're putting them on their defense, and they just light it up every year, and you can't score on them. And so I think they're really stud players, but they might not have that many because they had 10 guys going to the draft last year. Where Washington State was dynamite they had the best defense, along with Iowa State and Iowa, and Illinois had a really strong defense. So those are the teams I'm looking at their defense who didn't lose everything to the pros the year before. So that's what I'm looking at. So these teams are out of their mind. If Houston, okay, let's do it this way. If Houston takes C.J. Stroud, Houston will have the number 1 pick in the draft next year. Now, if they trade for Lamar Jackson, they'll probably have the 4th or 5th because Lamar Jackson will be lost on Houston. He'll just go back and run every play. So all you do now is you bring in extra safeties for linebackers, and you got more speed than Lamar. He'll do Julio Jones. He'll play 4 or 5 games, and then, my hamstring, and you won't see him the rest of the year. That's what Lamar will do if he goes to Houston or Indy. He'll never finish. They won't be competitive, especially Houston. What are they going to do? So it's just a waste. Houston needs to draft Joe Green, Ham, and Lambert. That's what they need. That's what Indy needs. If you want to do anything. Now, Indy's got Jonathan Taylor, which helps. So they got the Franco Harris piece, but they need the defense. And go. Tennessee has the defense, but keeps getting guys injured. So they need more defense to replace and just get rid of the injured guys. Okay. Teams don't do that. They'll, like J.J. Watt got injured. He was injured for 5 years. And I think they finally, at the end, Arizona signed him. I don't know why. And then he keeps getting injured. He's just injury prone, his body type. Just a second. That's Jenna on the WhatsApp. She got bit by an animal and her foot was swollen. And I said, now you know how I feel when my foot's swollen. Anyway, so that's the key. Like teams like the Lions, I keep hearing they'll take the best player available because they signed a few free agents. And I'm like, no, they got to take defensive players. Their first 5 picks should all be defensive line and linebackers and maybe a secondary guy from Illinois or Iowa State, one of these studs that they have. And that's all I would focus on. They need a whole new defense. Their defense sucks except for Hutchinson. I don't care that you got a couple of free agent cornerbacks. What is that? If they're that good, they wouldn't be free agents. Well, maybe, but I just don't buy it. So again, you've got to get defensive players, and I'm giving you, and you don't get them from Tulane and Louisiana Lafayette. You get them from Iowa State and Iowa and those guys. So the draft is the 27th. So that's Thursday? Yeah, 24th. So again, I'm in Detroit. I have no desire. They would have to pay me to go down to the draft, right? I have no desire to actually pay money to sit there and watch the draft. It ain't a movie. It ain't a game. I wouldn't pay to go watch the Lions. The only way I would go is if I got a free ticket and I would park at MGM and walk 5 minutes to the stadium. Otherwise, I would never pay to go watch a Lion game, and I certainly ain't going to pay to go watch a draft. What is that? Why would you pay to watch a draft? Isn't it on TV? And even then, I don't even watch. I just go on to Yahoo Sports, NFL Draft, and I don't know who was taken for a second because it doesn't matter. You're not doing anything with it Thursday. More or less just saying this is who was drafted, and you're like, oh, okay, whatever. So You need to be a good look at San Francisco, right? With Brock Purdy, and he's a good quarterback. But Brock Purdy, with that defense, Frisco makes the championship game. And if Purdy doesn't get hurt, they beat Philadelphia. Philadelphia had the second defense, but it was misleading. It's sort of like Buffalo's defense. It looks good, but then you see who they play and you go, no, it's not really that good. Buffalo plays the Jets with no quarterback, New England with no quarterback, and Miami with Tagovailoa probably hurt. And that's the same thing with Philly. They played Washington with no quarterback, Dallas with no quarterback, and the Giants with no quarterback. And so having low defensive numbers doesn't count. And then when Philly played Green Bay, they gave up 33 points. That's where you get the defense. So you got to always look inside the numbers. That's why trends don't work unless all the variables have to be the same. So when these idiots are doing charts on gold and silver from 2008, are they looking at the same variable? Well, we had an economic problem in 08 and gold went up. You got inflation, you got bank failures, you got a war. You did not have all that in 2008. And you cannot look at what happened in 08 and do it. And we're getting off COMEX onto physical, which is not even, you got to add a zero. So $2,000 gold is $20,000 gold. And that's your starting point. So they don't even understand anything. These idiots that just talk about COMEX are clueless. And I talk about shift mostly because he just is clueless, right? Oh, gold's about to go up. Look at it go. It's COMEX, you moron. It'll go up when it goes to physical. Bricks. Again, I don't have the kickoff for it. But knowing Putin and Xi and the International Bank of Settlements, it's going to happen soon. The U.S. is doing their best to not let it go up. They can't hold 100 countries who want gold to go up and have the BRICS currency. Yeah, they can't do anything with it. I was watching something on YouTube and they're trying to say, well, it's a long way away. And I'm like, no, because we watched Alistair McLeod and Andrew McGuire, and they're both saying it's tomorrow, right? It's going to happen very, very soon. But that's why I listen to the English, because they give you the truth. And the U.S. guys, how many Austrian economists do you know besides me? Maybe two? Peter Schiff, who claims to be, who's not. Andy Scheckman, who claims to be, is not. Only the two guys in Britain, and I can tell they are because I can listen to what they say and go, yeah, that's right. Inflation is the devaluation of the money supply. It's worth less. And if you answer that, then I know you're an Austrian. If you answer it as prices, you're not an Austrian. If you're an MMT guy, you're a Keynesian. If you're a Keynesian, both of those are communists. So we don't listen to anybody that doesn't get that. So you have to understand what they're talking about. So what else? So NFL draft. Let's see if I got a thing on Hurley. Okay, I got my drug screen. Okay, so she's good. I've never heard of this one. Please limit your fluid intake to 24 fluid ounces within 3 hours prior to taking the drug screen. Please call the facility ahead of time to verify an appointment time. Okay. So she's telling me my closest location, and there's supposed to be okay. So I got to go to the library because I don't have a printer here. I never brought it from Alabama. Okay. Okay, so it's not that far. Okay, so I'll probably do that tomorrow. I am doing I really want to do like 100-hour fast, Bobby. My back is sore. I haven't taken any ibuprofen today yet. I'm trying to not take it as an excuse. I've iced my back all morning, and then I'm doing my like the figure four exercise where your one leg's like this, and then you bend your right leg, and then you bend your left leg, and I'm doing ups and downs and all this shit for my sciatic, and I'll go to the pool. There's one where I put my right foot. There's stairs going into the pool. I put my right foot on like the fourth step, so it's a little bit above, and I just kind of lean into it. It feels very good, but it's still sore. But I think I'm getting a little bit better. But it just sucks because I'm in bed and I feel okay. Then I get up to start walking and I can't do it. And then it kind of loosens up. So after this, I'll kind of go and loosen it up. Professor, do you hear about Jalen Hurts becoming the highest paid quarterback in NFL history? That's a big mistake, but I haven't. But if you say it, I will believe it. I like Hurts, but come on now. Some of these GMs need to be drug tested. Well, that's where they're all idiots. How could he make more than Mahomes and Burrow? It's not even realistic. How could Hurts make more than Mahomes and Burrow? Why would you pay him more than Mahomes and Burrow? Are you out of your mind? I would go, look, Mahomes makes what, $30 million? That's what we're paying you. But again, knowing that the dollar is going to zero, yeah, I guess I could pay the guy $50 million because it'll be zero. I won't have to pay him anything. This is the problem. This is why you win with defense. Not only is it less, doesn't cost you as much. How much are you paying? Okay, so you get Lawrence Taylor now in the draft. Lawrence Taylor Jr. comes out, and he's the same as his dad. I don't know if there's a Lawrence Taylor Jr. I'm making the point. You can pay him $30 million? No, you can pay him $5-8 million, and not even the first contract, the second one. Maybe you pay him $10 million, but you're going to win with Lawrence Taylor. Jalen Hurts, you had your chance last year. Beat Mahomes. You needed defense. So what this does, let's carry this to the conclusion, which is what I love to do. So if you paid Hurts $50 million, supposedly, what happens? You have less money to pay the rest of the players. Here's a €1. But I don't think there's silver or gold. See how it says €1? Basically worth 2 cents. It's worth €1, but basically they're going broke just the same as we are. So the teams have so much in salary cap they can sign. I don't know what it is now. But if I'm paying one player $50 million, there's a bunch of players I can't pay. That's why New England won. They didn't pay Tom Brady the top salary, and it was always like, okay, here it is. So with that said, Tom Brady, New England was able to get good defensive players. They could pay $4 or $5 million and get all the good players. And then let's not forget you're going to have injuries. So if I pay Jalen Hurts $50 million a year, whatever, I don't know what it is, Bobby, but that's probably close to it. And I have, what's my salary cap? $300 million a year, let's say. Leaves me $250 million. I don't even think it's that high. Let's say it's $200 million. Leaves me $150 less to pay the other 49 players. I think it's a 50-man. Well, maybe it's a 42-man roster. I don't know anymore. You can't pay them all $10 million, right? So if you pay them all $10 million, that's $420,000. Well, you're over your salary cap. So you can play your star players. So in Philly's case, Slay from the Lions, you give him 10. Your defensive tackle, you give 10. What do you get paid? You got your offensive line you got to pay, and your running backs, and now you got Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. They're getting paid a ton. Well, I guess we won't have a secondary because we only got like $600,000 to pay these guys. Then let's say there's an injury to Darius Slay or their defensive tackle or Kelsey brother, who I never heard of before, who's the center. What's the backup going to be? We don't have any money. We're going to pay the guy, you take gold. Here's gold. I mean, that's basically what you're going to have. You can't afford it. And then there's injuries. You got injuries to the offensive line. Look at Cincinnati last year. You don't have any. I can pay you 500 grand. That's it. That's where the problem is. That's why New England won. They didn't pay Brady the big 30 million and kill them. They were able to pay very Roll and Teddy Bruschi and Law and all these guys. That's why they never have good receivers there, because they put all their money into their defense except for the quarterback. And where Belichick screwed up is he doesn't have a clue on a quarterback. He cannot draft a good quarterback. He doesn't know what he's looking for. Really, I don't think I would have drafted Brady because he couldn't beat out the guy on Michigan, whatever the fuck his name was, Drew Henson. He couldn't beat out Drew Henson. And as you saw, Drew Henson sucked on Dallas. So really, you shouldn't have drafted Brady because he didn't show you anything. Really, he had a good Orange Bowl against Alabama. Otherwise, he basically, I mean, I was watching Michigan football back then, and if Drew Henson started, I bet on him. And if he didn't start, I'd go, who's this Brady Bunch guy? I mean, really, you weren't impressed because you couldn't beat out Drew Henson. And he had one good game against Michigan State where we lost, and he had a good game against Alabama. Outside of that, I wouldn't have drafted Tom Brady, and I watch Michigan football all the time. So with that said, I'm not sold on Hurts. All he can do is run the ball. But if you pay him so much, well, you didn't win last year with him. That was your opportunity. Once you pay the guy $50 million, is A.J. Brown going to stick around? No, because he's the guy that's going to take the money. How about Devontae Smith when he gets out of his contract? You think he's going to stay there? No, he's gone. Your defense is going to get hurt. Maybe you pay the lineman who's good. Your offensive line you can't pay. So all of a sudden, by putting the money into one guy, it screws the rest of the team. And since we all know the way they do it now, the whole team gets injured. You're losing at least 10 guys to injuries, hamstrings, the Achilles, and everything else because there's no training camp and there's no preseason. How do you back them up? You don't have any money to back them up. So that's where your real problem is, and that's where the Eagles might be good next year, but as soon as they have to let players go, they're done. So they have a one-year window by signing Hurts. If you think Hurts is going to win you, you're out of your mind. I mean, the only reason they beat the Niners is Purdy got hurt, and then they lost to Kansas City. Well, Mahomes ain't going anywhere, and if they get to face Burrow, look at Burrow, right? Burrow and Chase sign, and they can't sign T. Higgins. That's what Philadelphia. They're not going to be able to sign A.J. Brown and Smith and the running backs and, all their talent, and then have backups. And that's the problem with the salary cap. Good God, if there was a salary cap in my 74 Steelers, what would they have done? I mean, you got to pay Mel Blount, you got to pay Joe Green, Ham, Lambert, Mike Wagner, J.T. Thomas, Donnie Shell, and your offensive line, and Franco, and Swan and Stowers, and Bradshaw. How the hell they could never have done it. And that's, I think, the problem with the league. You can't have teams like the Steelers, even the Niners. You had Montana, and then you had Jerry Rice and Roger Craig, and the defense, Ronnie Lott and Fred Dean, and all those. You can't have that type of team anymore. And that really sucks. That makes the league suck because you sit there and the teams are so bad. You're like, oh, my God. So Kansas City can win because they have Mahomes and Kelsey. They didn't have Kelsey, they wouldn't win. But with Kelsey and Mahomes, and then you added this Poncho guy running back, the defense is average. So KC wins because of Mahomes. So they stumbled onto Mahomes late in the first round, who did nothing at Texas Tech that you would have said, oh, this guy's going to be great. So that's where you're at. So if you overpay for one guy, then that's why KC could not sign Tyreek Hill. You couldn't if you gave Mahomes his $30 million and Tyreek Hill his $20 million, you couldn't have fielded a defense. You would have had no money left. And then if there's injuries or injuries to the offensive line, you couldn't. You would have had high school players playing for 500,000. But I haven't heard it hurts, but maybe they're working on the contract, but it doesn't matter. And that's the problem. They're all drafting these quarterbacks, and you win San Francisco style with the killer defense and Brock Purdy that you don't have to pay $30 million to. Deebo Samuel and McCaffrey, you do have to pay, but you don't pay as much for receiver and running back. And that just shows you win with Brock Purdy as long as you have McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, the tight end Kittle, and then that strong defense. That's how you have to build a team. But if you start paying $50 million for a quarterback, anybody on defense that gets hurt or the offensive line, which you know is going to happen, it's football. You're done. I mean, you know. Now I still think Cincinnati beat Kansas City, and even though they're on their fourth string left tackle and left guard, they were fine. That didn't hurt them. It was the bullshit penalty on Mahomes that should have went to overtime, and on all the plays that they didn't call when they roughed Burrow. We can't. We're in Kansas City. We're not going to call those. But as soon as they touch Mahomes, there's 15 yards, and they gave him the game. It sucks. Anyway, so that's what it is. With that, it's basically the salary cap is killing football because you can't have a Steeler team. You couldn't have a 60s Green Bay team. They could never have paid Nitschke and Davis and Adderley and all those superstars that they had on defense. You could never have paid them. And Horning and Bart Starr and Dale. And you couldn't have afforded to pay them all. That's the problem with the salary cap. It's really ruined the league that you can't get a really strong team. So you can do it with defense, which is why I'm saying you go draft. If I'm the Lions, I'm drafting my first 5 picks are all defensive players. They won't cost as much, and I can win with the defense. Their offense is good enough to win with, but not their defense sucks. And no team with a bad defense wins. Brady didn't do it. Montana didn't do it. Jimmy Johnson didn't do it. You get a bad defense, you ain't winning. I don't care who you have as quarterback. Montana couldn't win with it, but Lawrence Taylor won too with terrible quarterbacks. Hostetler and Sims, and he wins too. They beat a great Buffalo team, and they beat the Niners on Roger Craig's fumble because of Lawrence Taylor, not because of Phil Sims and not because of Hostetler. So that's what you got to keep in mind. These guys are all fucked up. They're drafting absolutely upside down. Ooh, let's take the quarterback. Let's take Levis from Kentucky. Let's take Richardson. I'm sure he's better than the stud linebacker at Washington State or Iowa State. He's going to do – what's Richardson going to do? Are you kidding me? So we'll do a draft show this weekend, maybe Monday if I need to study it. But basically, we'll know the first round Thursday and Friday. So I'll go over it. Usually what happens is just the real – the stars. And then there's all these guys. I have no idea who they are, but I go by college. So if you're drafting good Washington State guys defensively, I give the team an A for being smart enough to go to a great defensive team to draft their players. So anyway, if Houston doesn't get Lamar Jackson and draft CJ Stroud, they will have the first pick in the draft next year. And Indy, if they take Richardson, they will have the second pick in the draft next year. Because, I mean, you couldn't win with Ryan. And now I'm not a big Matt Ryan fan. I never saw the big deal about him. But you couldn't win with him. You got a coach that doesn't know what he's doing, sort of like the Lions. I love how the Lions, they have a coach for 2 years. They suck, Matt Patricia, and then they sign another coach that's never coached before. And, watch this year. The Lions, for you guys that like betting team totals or something, or to win the division, I would go under and their team wins because their schedule will be tougher. They have no defense. They still have no defense. They'll probably go draft a wide receiver to replace the guy who bat. Well, let's see the draft. If their first 4 picks aren't defensive players, then I would bet them under. And if they are, and they're studs, and they're from Georgia and Washington State and Iowa, then I might bet them over. Then they'll actually have a good defense to go with the offense, but golf will choke. So when the big game comes, golf will choke. That's what Stafford did. I mean, there was that one year, the Lions, all they did is win one of the last 5 games, and they lost all 5. I loved it. That's my boys. So anyway, that's what you have when signing a Jalen Hurts for $50 million or Lamar Jackson. Why do you think Baltimore doesn't want to sign Jackson to that? They're out of their minds. They won't have a team. They won't have any money left for their defense. They're better off with a great defense and drafting Stetson Bennett from Georgia. They can win a Super Bowl with Stetson Bennett because he just won 2 national titles. Joe Burrow won a national title, and he's in the Super Bowl his second year, and he's back in the championship game last year. Okay, and he's got Chase. So that's fine. That's what you want to do. And I lost my train of thought a little bit, but that's the difference, right? You can Stetson Bennett. So Stetson Bennett, I haven't eaten, you can tell. Stetson Bennett he's won 2 fucking national titles. You put him on a team like Baltimore or Pittsburgh. So here's the problem with Pittsburgh. They have Pickett, and instead of getting rid of him, well, they should draft Bennett and then get rid of Pickett, but they won't. New England could draft Bennett, but they won't. They got Mac Jones. Now, they should be playing Zappy, so I don't understand what part of Zappy looks bad did they see, because I didn't see any problem. It's like Frisco with Purdy. He looked pretty good. If he gets the Tommy John surgery and he's okay, then look out. What else do we got? So you go down the list. So Frisco, get him Thompson Robinson from UCLA, get him Hooker from Tennessee. If I'm Frisco and I can get Hooker in the first round, I just won the Super Bowl. I mean, they're probably the only team that can beat Kansas City with that defense, or Cincinnati, of course. So you got KC, Cincinnati over here. I don't know why everybody hates Buffalo this year. I mean, they're all they want to make the playoffs and all this shit. They're still playing a weak New England team, a weak Miami team. And if Rodgers goes to the Jets, then yes, that's a good team that's going to battle them. But New England sucks, and Miami's going to suck. Who's their quarterback? So that's how I don't see where Buffalo doesn't make the playoffs. I don't know if the guy who with the injury is going to play. They need a running back, and they need defense because will Von Miller be able to play with his injury? So really, that's the Von Miller plays, or they can get a Von Miller. Then I think Buffalo is good, but I don't think they can beat Kansas City or Cincinnati. They can't beat Cincinnati with Josh Allen. He's no Joe Burrow and he's no Mahomes. So if we go through it, Bobby, it looks like this year is Burrow. So it went Mahomes, Burrow, Mahomes, and here comes Burrow number 4. And that's how I'm viewing it. And unfortunately, Boutte's not in the draft, but they can pick up Boutte with Chase. They won't lose a game. They need a better running back, I think. Mixon, I'm not sold on, but it's okay because with Burrow and Chase, you got to put so much attention on them. Mixon can run. He's good enough to run or pre-run. He's a sledgehammer, so I don't mind that. And their defense is stronger. If they can pick up an Iowa State guy and a Washington State guy on their defense, Cincinnati's they're right there with Kansas City. That's what Kansas City needs. Kansas City's first pick should be the best player on Washington State or Iowa State's defense. So should Cincinnati. And then the Niners are loaded on defense. That's where they need maybe Stetson Bennett, Hooker, or Thompson Robinson, or Hayner. Those 4 will be around. Pick them up, Niners. You don't. Purdy's good, but he's injured. You're not winning with Trey Lance. Trey Lance can't complete a pass. He wants to run. You don't want a running quarterback. You don't want Lamar Jackson. You want to hand the ball off to McCaffrey, hit Deebo Samuel and Kittle. That's what you need in a quarterback. That's what Purdy did for them. That is not what Lance can do, and that is not what Lamar Jackson can do, and that's not what half of these quarterbacks, that's not what Hurts can do. Hurts at Frisco they wouldn't even make the playoffs, but they can pick up Hooker or Hayner and they'd be in the Super Bowl next year because they got everything else. Hayner can make all the throws that Purdy can make. He's better than Purdy. And if they added Hooker, forget about it. Now they'd have to wait a few games, but if they got him, they'd be in the Super Bowl next 3 years. So, I love when these GMs and scouts kind of forget that, oh yeah, Hooker put up 50 points on Alabama. Not on, Nebraska, but Alabama. He puts up 50 and makes some clutch touchdowns to win the game. I don't know what else you're looking at, man. That's always got to hurt MCL. Yeah, name a player who doesn't, right? Brady got hurt. Rodgers looks like he's hurt. Manning broke his neck. He's still in the Super Bowl. So give me a break. I mean, you add Hooker, okay, you got to wait 6 or 7 weeks. You're going to win the Super Bowl with that defense, McCaffrey, Kittle, and Deebo Samuel, and you add Hooker to it, it's all over. You add Thompson Robinson to it, it's all over. Hooker is better than a lot of these other guys that will be drafted. Well, exactly. But he didn't go to Ohio State or Alabama. How could he be better than him, Bobby? Come on. We know that you got to draft a quarterback from Ohio State because when we look at the track record of Ohio State quarterbacks, none of them have done shit. None of the Alabama ones have done shit. Hurts is only decent because he runs because he learned that at Oklahoma. And I'm going to take you to the shed next year when you take Williams and I'll take Cam Rising and we see who, I'll bet you some pig's ears, but I'll bet you General Chow that Rising's better than Williams. And again, it depends on who takes him. That's exactly the point. If the Niners can get Hooker, okay, so Houston grabs C.J. Stroud. They'll have the number 1 pick in the draft next year because they're not going to win a game if they just start him, right? He'll try to run. Yeah, okay. Yeah, we've not seen that. See, all the teams are now Lamar Jacksonized. We know how to defend Lamar Jackson. We know how to defend Hurts. So you bring in Richardson and you bring in C.J. Stroud. We've been there, done that. But a Montana and a Brady and a Rodgers and a Drew Brees, we can't defend them. And that's, you bring in a Hooker. Even if San Francisco gets Stetson Bennett, they're winning the Super Bowl. I don't get that. He's won two national titles in a row. Well, we don't want him. I want C.J. Stroud. He lost to Michigan. He looked good against Georgia. Well, so did Daniels from LSU look good against Georgia. I hate to break it to you. Duggan from TCU, I wouldn't mind. And then the other kid, I was thinking, I remember the team. But you got all that. And why is nobody talking about Duggan? Yeah, that's it. So that's really what you need to look at what they did in college. And I hate when they say, well, it doesn't translate. Yeah, Joe Montana in college was Joe Montana, right? He was down 20 points to Houston in a Cotton Bowl game his senior year, and he threw the touchdowns. And with 5 seconds left, he throws the game-winning touchdown. Joe Montana. It translated into the pros, right? What did he do? He won the games. He knew how to win. Stetson Bennett knows how to win. Hooker knows how to win. Till he got hurt, he's beaten Alabama. Yeah, he couldn't beat Georgia because by the time he went back to pass, the Georgia defense was all over him. So I don't know where they were against Ohio State, but they definitely showed up against TCU, and LSU got a little lucky with their running. It's true, Professor. I think Hacksaw Jim Duggan gets more talked about than the TCU Duggan. Yeah, TCU, I don't know. They fucking beat everybody in the Big 12. They beat Michigan, putting up 40-some points. He's looked really strong. And then he beat Texas 17-10. So when they played a good defensive team who ran the ball with Robinson, he still got the W 17-10. There was Kansas State. I think he was down 14. And we had a lock on TCU, and he came back and they won the game by 10, 38-28 against a good Kansas State team. So I don't know why Duggan's left out of the conversation. It just blows my mind. And then they all fall in love with Mitch Trubisky, and you're like, oh my God, Thompson Robinson, where's he? Why aren't you talking about him? Why are you talking about C.J. Stroud and Richardson and not Thompson Robinson? Oh, he's a project. Project? UCLA scored 45 points a game, including against Utah and USC, and I believe Washington. They had a boatload of points. He needs work. Where are you getting this from, man? These guys are all on drugs. What do you mean he needs work? Where does he need work? He doesn't need work. God, it just blows your mind how stupid these analysts and GMs are that they're saying he needs work. I don't really understand that at all. He doesn't. He's fine. That's like saying Penix comes out next year from Washington. He needs work. Rising needs work. Williams needs work. The Oregon Bo Nix needs work. I mean, give me a break. You score 40 points a game in the Pac-12, which you're doing Washington and Oregon State. You're lucky to get 20 on. So you're putting that up. Don't tell me that they can't play quarterback. So again, I think Bennett's the sleeper and Hooker. I don't think Hooker's a sleeper, but Bennett's the sleeper. 2 titles at Georgia, and you're not. And he had to beat Alabama the first year, and then he beat them pretty good. And then last year he had to come back to beat Ohio State, and then he just walked through the TCU game. But they were down to Ohio State, and he kept bringing them back. Ohio State, good defensive team, not great last year, not one of their better teams, but they were still Ohio State. They got a lot of pros on their defense. So I don't know why nobody's talking Bennett. Now you watch. I swear people listen to me and don't give me credit, because then I'll hear them go, yeah, how about Stenson Bennett? And I'll hear that, and it's like me with the gold, right? All of a sudden I'll hear Titanic versus gold, and then Andy Scheckman starts talking about they got to get off the boat. He won't give me the Titanic thing, but they got to get off. All of a sudden he's using a boat reference. So I don't know. I don't know who listens to me, but nobody gives me credit when they steal my ideas. Hooker and going to make C.J. Stroud look like a $5 hooker from Hertz Point in the Bronx. Hooker, is going to make, yeah. I mean, what did C.J. Stroud do? I don't understand. He lost to Michigan 2 years in a row. What does he do? He takes an offense that's all system, and he puts up 40 points. Except for when he plays Michigan, he can't get up 20 against a good defense. He struggles against Penn State. Yeah, he beats, good. He beat Michigan State and Maryland and Rutgers. Woo, yeah, he's a top pick. Give me a break. I struggle with the Alabama quarterback. He is not better than the Tennessee quarterback. I'm sorry. Or the Georgia quarterback. Just to clarify, Hertz Point in a section in the Bronx known for prostitution. Okay. I smell what you're cooking, Bobby. I can smell it. Let's see. Sorry, it's a Harley. It's a Harley thing. Okay, so that's what I thought you were saying, Bobby. A $5 hooker, as if a $5 hooker, not a hooker. not a Tennessee quarterback. But this is where I don't understand. If you watch the Tennessee Alabama game and he puts up 50 points, you don't come away going, this great fucking quarterback. All right, he hurts his knee. We get it. It's injuries. It's part of it. But you don't draft him because, in a few months when the injury heals, he's going to get out there and he'll be, he's up there with Burrow and Mahomes almost. I mean, give me a break. And Bennett, I'd say Bennett's Drew Brees, right? Let's say he's Drew Brees. Thompson Robinson could be like the kid on San Diego. I can't think of the name right now. You got Brock Purdy taking the Niners to the championship game, and if he doesn't get hurt, they're in the Super Bowl. It's San Francisco, KC all again, which is what I picked. Well, actually, I think I picked San Francisco, Cincinnati. My boy Joe Burrow, but that's what you're looking for. We take Joe Burrow as a dog. We win every time. That's what you're looking for. Hooker, I can win every time with, especially with these defenses in the NFL. Bennett, I'd be very comfortable betting on. And I'd say I'd be very comfortable betting on Haener, just like I'm very comfortable betting on Zappy. I couldn't believe I think we lost a big bet when it was New England, Chicago, and all of a sudden, instead of Zappy being the quarterback, I remember that they put the motherfucker Jones back in, and Chicago won by 30. Again, thinking Zappy's going to be the quarterback. So, thank you very much, Belichick. I can't wait till he leaves. Oh, he's the best coach that ever coached. Oh, really? Yeah. How did he do without Brady? He can't even win a playoff game without Brady. So how good is he? Brady was the best coach that ever coached. Give me a fucking break. And that's my point. A lot of the times the player, like Bobby made the Pittsburgh and the Met manager who they were because Bobby was on the team, not because the guy was a good coach. It's how do you coach the talent? And like what Doug Collins coached the Bulls and he had Jordan, but he didn't have Pippen and he didn't have Rodman. Phil Jackson comes with Jordan, but then he gets credit, but then here comes Pippen and Rodman. That's what won it. Then he goes to the Lakers, couldn't win with Kobe, but when Shaq got there, so he gets credit for all that, and he should not have gotten credit for any of it. Collins would have won with Chicago if he had Pippen and Rodman. Actually, he had Pippen and he couldn't win because the Pistons had Rodman. And then with Kobe, they couldn't win until Shaq got there. So you need that. It's like Magic and Kareem. Kareem got lucky. He had Oscar Robertson in Milwaukee, and then he had Magic. So he won a lot. That was a nice twosome. But that's where talent wins. I bet the Lakers over in the 80s. I made a fortune on them. It was ridiculous. Anytime after a loss, Lakers. Playoffs, Lakers. And then when they were up, 2-1 against Boston, I bet Bird back. And then it was the Lakers. And I'll never forget that Philly game when Magic plays center because Kareem hurts his ankle. And they couldn't guard Magic because Doug, what's his name? The Collins, I think, was the coach. Not Doug Collins, but I can picture the guy. Chuck Daly was the assistant, and he couldn't guard Magic because he tried to put Daryl Dawkins on him, where he needed to put a forward on him, instead. And then Dr. J couldn't do anything because he can't play defense. So Magic puts up 50 points playing center, and they win. I mean, that's how strong that was. But that's who you want, Magic and Kareem. I'm gonna make a lot of money on a Magic and Kareem, and that's what I'm looking for here. I got Burrow and Chase, I got Mahomes and Kelsey. I need a quarterback at the Niners to have that with McCaffrey and Samuel and Kittle, and that's exactly what you're looking for. So we'll see. The Jets, if they get Rodgers, going to need a running back. They're going to need Kareem and Magic. or they ain't going to do anything. Buffalo's got Allen, doesn't have a running back. So you can see the teams with the two studs, KC, Cincinnati. That's why we bet them, because when you got two studs, you're not losing many games, and you're taking them as the dog. And every time since he's been the dog, last year I won, and I think they were the dog against KC and Buffalo, and I think I won both of them. But that's when they might have even been the dog against Baltimore or Pittsburgh or Cleveland or something earlier in the year. Anyway, that's what you're looking for. So that's why it's critical. I mean, if Hooker goes in the third round, I am betting that team heavily, right? So if I'm Houston and I really need a quarterback, I'm probably going to draft Hooker. Why would I draft C.J. Stroud, and why would anybody draft Richardson? I would draft Hooker and Bennett and Hayner from Fresno State and Thompson Robinson way ahead of Levis Stroud. It's inconceivable that you're talking about C.J. Stroud because he had a good game against Georgia running the ball, so therefore he's a good quarterback, when he had a horrible game 2 years in a row against Michigan. Look at the whole piece of work. Hooker, 50 points on Alabama, enough said. No, he didn't do much against Georgia, but nobody does. And he's not the runner. Stroud ran against Georgia, but you're not going to run in the NFL like that. So these and Richardson, where are you getting Richardson is any good? At Florida, he sucked, right? Where are you getting that this guy's good? Oh, because he's an athlete? I love when they start talking about athletes. Oh, this guy's an athlete. He can jump high and run fast. Is he a football player? Same thing in baseball, Bobby. Is he a baseball? Can he hit the ball? Can he play defense? Well, no, but look at him. He's put together and he's strong and big fucking deal. If he can't hit the ball, I don't care what he looks like. And same thing in football. If the guy can't read a defense, I don't care. Richardson, I would not draft Richardson at all. And if I did, it would be tight end or something like that, or he'd be, he would not. I mean, he's got speed. He's like Hines Ward, maybe. There's no fucking way I'd be making this guy my quarterback, especially with the Indy, the third or fourth pick. I'm going to draft this guy when I got Hooker and all the guys I just mentioned sitting there who are 5 times better. Oh my God, this is the problem, right? See, we see it because I'm an INFJ and I think outside the box. I see it, and these GMs are so fucking stupid that they don't even know what they're doing. It's beyond me how stupid these guys are. Really does. Anybody, if Stroud goes 2 and Richardson goes 3 and Levis goes 4, and you don't take the Georgia linebacker and you draft the Alabama linebacker, it just proves how stupid these guys are. I would never take the Alabama linebacker. You're going up 50 points to Tennessee. What's he going to do in the pros? And name me one defensive player from Alabama that's ever done anything in the pros besides what Leroy Caffey and on the Packers in the 60s and Tommy Novis. No, he played for Texas. Very few Alabama defensive players do anything in the pros because it's a system. And then very few quarterbacks. Joe Namath and Ken Stabler come to mind. That's it. Tagovailoa is not good. And we see Jones. He sucks at New England. Tagovailoa, well, how many games did he miss? He shouldn't even be playing with the concussion, and he's still got the hip injury. Bo Jackson never recovered from it, so I don't see a guy like Tagovailoa recovering from it. So I don't know what all the thing is about Alabama. They think they pay their players, so they get the best high school players, which doesn't translate into college players. They get them, and then what do they do from them? They go to we're going to draft him because he went to Alabama. Big fucking deal. I mean, that very few do anything in the pros. Julio Jones had a few good years, had a pulled hamstring the last 5. Waddle, okay, he's just another receiver. Smith, the Heisman winner, just another receiver. If Frisco would have done the replay, he didn't catch that pass, they might win the game, Frisco, because that led to a touchdown. If they don't, then they got to punt the ball, or it might have even been a fourth down. Purdy was still playing at that time. Anyway, I'd rather have LSU guys than Alabama guys or Georgia guys now over that. Wait till the Georgia tight end comes out, and I can't think of his fucking name. That guy's a stud already, but he'll come out next year. I'd love to see Cincinnati get that guy. You put him with Chase and Burrow, and I can't think of his name, but that's it. Bobby Burrow or Mahomes wouldn't have a chance if they get the tight end from Georgia next year. Cincinnati, I'm talking. So that's how you build the team. It's defense, and they can't even figure out the best quarterbacks to pick, and they wonder why they all suck. Go back to my draft video a few years ago, and I said Baker Mayfield was probably the best one. I said Josh Allen sucks, and he's not been that good. And Josh Rosen. And what are they picking Josh Rosen? He can't even make a team, and they're picking him third. And Daniel Jones on the Giants, really? How has he turned out? Who would you rather have, Hooker, Bennett, Thompson, Robinson, Haener, or Daniel Jones on the Giants? Who would you rather have? And I'm sure the other four go way ahead of Daniel Jones. But will the Giants get rid of him and draft one of these guys? No. And that's why the Giants will never do anything, because they don't see it. They can't see their quarterback sucks. They're not going to win with them. They can't see that, and they can't see there's better talent out there, and they're not taking the better talent. And that's the problem. Daniel Jones, well, exactly. What are the Giants? They're going to win with Daniel Jones. They can beat Philly and Dallas with Daniel Jones. But if they could get Hooker, wouldn't you be better off with Hooker than Daniel Jones? Wouldn't you be better off with Jake Haener than Daniel Jones? Or my guy, Bennett. I'd rather have Bennett. The Giants would have a better chance with Stetson Bennett, the Georgia quarterback, to go deep in the playoffs than with Daniel Jones. All he wants to do is run the ball. Bennett, man, he's a stud quarterback. I don't know. A guy that wins 2 national titles and nobody talks about him, I just don't get the concept. That's why I lost all respect for the Vikings for actually losing a home outright to Jones and the Giants. Well, that's because they have Kirk Cousins, who he shouldn't even be in the league. When Washington drafted him, they drafted RG3. What are you drafting Kirk Cousins for also? And then Minnesota signs him to this 5-year deal. What are you saying that you think he's any good? And they still have him. And guess what? Many can't win a play. See, this goes right into the whole thesis, right? Kirk Cousins is not a winner. I watched him at Michigan State. I couldn't believe he got drafted. Thompson Robinson beats USC. He beats Utah. Rising beats USC twice. Thompson Robinson beat Utah and Washington. And Bennett, wins the title twice. I mean, if I'm Minnesota, I'd be drafting Bennett. Well, they need defense, but I'd be drafting Bennett. Hooker, Minnesota should go after Hooker. Anybody to get rid of Cousins. But look what you did. You signed Cousins to a $30 million, $35 million contract. You're fucked because now your defense gets injured. You can't bring in a good replacement because you can only pay him $100. And I think they want to get rid of the running back. I don't know why. I can't think of the guy's name, but they want to, so what's Minnesota going to do? They're a much better team than they show. Green Bay, if they stay with Jordan Love, they're going to be in last place. He stinks. He was good in the first year at Utah State. I said he's good. But the second year he sucked. And I liked the San Jose State Jordan Love or whatever Love. I liked him better than Jordan Love when he came out. So if you're going to stick with Jordan Love and you think you're going to win 5 games with that guy, Bobby, we're going to make so much money off of these idiot quarterback decisions and overpaying these quarterbacks because now you fucked up the rest of the team. I can't get Jack Lambert and Jack Ham on the team because you're paying all this money to this idiot quarterback. I need Jack Ham and Jack Lambert and Joe Green and Mel Blount to win. I can't win with CJ Stroud, or you're paying Hurts all this money, or you're paying Cousins all this money. I can't win with that. I need those guys, right? And that's the problem. You can't sign them. And if they get hurt, you're really fucked, right? Oh, Jack Ham just went down. Now what do I do? I got to bring in Joel Smith from Arkansas Union to play middle linebacker now. I mean, it's like, yeah, I'm going to win a lot of games with that. That's the problem. You need the backups in the defense. There's too many injuries. There's no preseason. They have a the first week bye. These guys are so out of shape by the time the season starts, and they all hurt their legs. There's 50 guys. I remember reading the injuries to you guys last year. There was a team, I think it was Tennessee, had like 25 guys on the injured list. And a lot of the teams had 15. I was reading the injury list for a half hour. On the Rams, I mean, it was unbelievable. So that's what you have. You've got to be very, very careful. But what are we looking at? We look at it from a betting standpoint. That's what separates us from the rest of these idiots. We look at it from we want to bet on, I can't think of my guys. We want to bet on Joe Burrow. We want to bet on Mahomes. We don't necessarily want to bet on Josh Allen. We don't want to bet on Tagliabue. We're going to bet on Rodgers if he's on the Jets and they give him a running back. We'll take the Niners defense and bet the games under if Trey Lance is the quarterback. The Rams, I don't know. They're all fucked up. Denver is going to be very interesting with Sean Payton. Russell Wilson will look like a superstar again. They will score points with Sean Payton, and they had good defenses at New Orleans with Sean Payton. Look for them to give Kansas City all they want and maybe keep Mahomes from another Super Bowl. And you got San Diego, which still have a terrible coach. But if they can draft a couple of Washington State, Oregon State guys and an Iowa guy on their defense, then they're right. If they can draft 3 starters on defense from those schools to go with Khalil Mack, Bosa, who's never plays, and James, who never plays. So if you could actually get all of these guys playing with their offense, San Diego should win the division easily because they keep losing to KC by 3 points. I tease them as the dog every time San Diego and KC play. I take San Diego in 9. I win every time. If you give them the defense, they beat Mahomes, they win the division. And now KC's got to go on the road and try to get to the Super Bowl. But then we love it because we got Mahomes as a dog. And then we bet a fortune, and we got Cincinnati playing San Diego in a very high-scoring game. And we love it all the way around. And that's what we're going to get. Look for Denver and San Diego to be better. Give Kansas City all they want this year. Yeah, the Vikings. Well, I'm never Kirk. As soon as I see Kirk Cousins, it's bet against. They won all those games by like 2 points. They won 9 games by 1 possession. That's not a good team. I agree that Russell Wilson will bounce back this year with Peyton, but no way they stop the GOAT who will get title number 3. We got to see what Denver does defensively. I'd be more worried about San Diego if they can draft 2 stud defensive players from the schools I give you. Iowa State, Washington State, Oregon State, Illinois, Iowa, Georgia. They can draft 2 stud defensive starters. They can beat Kansas City because they got the offense and they need the defense. So that's who you need to worry about more than Denver is San Diego. But I'll bet you anything Denver wins at least 10 games. If I know I don't play those number games, right? How many games will they win? If Denver's like 6 or 7, I would be betting heavily on the over in that. Figure that that's a 15 star play for you guys, because with Sean Payton, Russell Wilson will be a whole lot better. They've got good receivers. They'll draft a couple of good ones. They'll probably get Thomas from New Orleans. They'll probably bring in the running back. Kamara will probably go to Denver, and the defense will be much better. Peyton will bring in. He knows players, man. He picked Kamara. Who picked Kamara? Played at Tennessee. He wasn't any good. He plays against Alabama every year. How good can he be? And yeah, this guy's a superstar. So Peyton drafted him, right? So Peyton knows talent. Look for Denver to be – they're going to give both Kansas City and San Diego all they want. That's the team. Oakland, of course, still sucks because their coach sucks. I mean, even the San Diego coach is better than the Oakland coach. But Sean Payton is much better than Andy Reid. It's not even close. Andy Reid doesn't win. He's Belichick, right? He wins because of Mahomes, and Sean Payton will get you there, and San Diego will win because of Herbert and because of Kellen Moore. But Denver will win because of Sean Payton, not because of Russell Wilson. He probably wanted to win, and the coach sucked, and he's like, what the fuck am I doing here? I get that way, too, if I'm on like a baseball team and they don't – and you can't win. You got a bunch of – no hitters, nobody that can hit. It's discouraging. If you can't win, I turn off. Jack Morris was like that on the Tigers. If they were down and he couldn't win, he didn't care. But when it was, when they were fighting for the playoffs, or like on Minnesota, when he went 10 innings to win the World Series, when the game was on the line, Jack Morris was the best pitcher there was. But if they're way behind, they're 10 games behind, he doesn't care. Explain this to me, Bobby. So yesterday, the Tigers pitcher Rodriguez has a perfect game through the first 2 outs of the 7th inning. So he basically was 20 for 20. He gives up a bloop single to left. So this is the bottom of the 7th, because they're in Toronto. So he's got perfect game going, gives up a single, and they pull him. And then they lose the game. Can you explain why they pull him? Because I guarantee you, and I know you, if you're on Toronto and you're facing this Rodriguez guy and he's got a perfect game going, you don't want to see him again. But as soon as they pulled him, they all were like, yes, now we can win. And then they won. They tied it at 1-1. And then the stupidest rule in the world, why does Toronto start the 10th with the runner on second? Why do they you got a hit to get on, and then they're letting the guy get on the second? Toronto bunts the ball, they bunt the guy to third, and then he scores on a wild pitch, and Toronto wins the game without getting a hit in the bottom of the 10th inning because they start a guy on second base. What the fuck is that? That's girls softball, and I still don't understand that. Oh, we're in such a hurry to get the game over because we had to add 50 minutes of commercials in between innings. So the 2 minutes between innings has now gone to 6 or 7 minutes between innings. Every time somebody gets out, 6 minutes of commercials. The next guy bats, 6 minutes of commercials. Well, the game's taking too long. We need to speed the game up. Yeah, why don't you double the commercial revenue? And so instead of $500,000, make it $1 million and go back to 3 minutes between innings. If they're paying $500,000 for it, they'll pay $1 million for it, because only Budweiser, they're gonna give you the $1 million because they want to advertise, right? Say's law. They need the advertising, because who's watching them now? You get these long, if I know it's going to be like in the NFL, if they're doing a measurement and they go to commercial, I know it's 5 minutes. I go on, a different channel, or I'll start watching Euro Trip or something, or Rounders again. But you got to be fucking kidding me. You can't. You can't have that many commercials and then you fuck your game over by speeding it up. I mean, look at the NFL. Oh, the guy's injured. Well, that's 5 minutes of commercials. Oh, it's a measurement. That's 5 minutes of commercials. Oh my God. And you can't even watch them anymore. But the betting keeps that. But in baseball, there's no betting. And not like football. It's every day. Who can bet every day? But that's it's insane. So the question to Bobby is, why would you pull the pitcher? So in other words, what are you going to say? Pitch count? I don't know what the pitch count was. So if he gets the guy out in the bottom of the seventh, you're telling me he's not pitching the eighth inning? With a perfect game, you're going to pull him in the eighth inning? No, he's going to pitch the eighth inning and the ninth inning. He's got a perfect game going. So he doesn't need a pitch count then. Why would you take him out on a bloop single to left with 2 outs in the bottom of the seventh? You pull him. Are you out of your fucking mind? These are the stupidest managers I've ever seen in my life. What are they doing? They don't even understand psychology, right? I know Bobby will agree with me. If he's facing Koufax or Bob Gibson and then they pull him, he's got a smile on his face. I can hit the reliever. I can't hit Koufax and I can't hit Bob Gibson. And that's the bottom line. I'm sorry. I mean, nobody's hitting this Rodriguez. You would pull him out of the game, and then you wonder why you lose, and you wonder why you're 20 games under 500 already. You got an idiot for a manager. What are you pitch counting for? To save the guy before he goes to San Francisco next year? You lose all your players, so why are you pitch counting them? And the Tigers had the most injured pitchers in the league. They had like 22 starting pitcher injury where they were out. We're doing pitch count. Why are any of them getting hurt when you're only pitching, every 10th day now? It's so stupid. It's amazing how dumb these managers are, these GMs in football. Yeah, let's take Richardson and C.J. Stroud. Hooker, he only put up 50 on Alabama. I don't want him. Hainer, yeah, he beat UCLA 2 years ago with an injured hip. I don't want him. Thompson Robinson only puts up 45 points a game at UCLA. I don't want him. I'll take C.J. Stroud. He lost to Michigan twice, and Richardson didn't even show up against Kentucky, Tennessee, or Georgia. So yeah, I want him. I mean, it's just fucking scary. It really is. Let me just write this phone number down. Okay, so Russell's. Oh yeah, 100% agree. I hate that freaking pitch count. I don't get it. I mean, does anybody really not get injured because they didn't throw? So if a guy pitches 120, like Verlander, if he throws 125 pitches in a game, does he get injured? You're already giving him 5 days rest, which is ridiculous. I'm sorry, Bobby. I'd be back into the 60s. Bob Gibson. I'd be like, you got 3 days rest and you're pitching the whole game, right? You're pitching 9 innings on 3 days rest. Every 3 days you're coming out. Gibson didn't have a problem. Koufax, yeah, his arm, but he threw really hard. Juan Marichal, Denny McLain he won 31 fucking games on 3 days rest. Mickey Lolich on the Tigers, Tom Seaver. Look at the Mets and 68. I mean, or 69 Mets. The Baltimore Orioles, in 71, they had 4 20-game winners. You're lucky if these guys pitched 20 games this year. Pittsburgh beat Baltimore with Clemente in that one, Willie Stargell in 70 with nobody, Doc Ellis and I don't even know who. and Oakland won with Catfish Hunter and Vita Blue. I mean, these guys are going on 3 days rest. What the fuck are you? Why now it's 5 days? And you think the guy, I honestly, I don't know if I could, if I was a pitcher or finesse player, if I'm a pitcher, you give me 5 days. I don't know if I could even throw a strike after waiting 5 days to pitch. I probably couldn't throw a strike. I want to keep my rhythm. Every third day, give me 3 days off. I'll go pitch. Now I'm in a rhythm. You give me 5 days, I'm not in a rhythm. That would not. They would not beat Baltimore in 1995, though. Pittsburgh. Well, you weren't on you were on the Mets in '95, weren't you? They would not fucking beat Baltimore. No, you weren't on Baltimore. You're on Pittsburgh for a week, and then you went to the Mets. Palmeiro was up third, and I was cleanup. Oh, what? You were on Baltimore? I don't remember you on Baltimore. I remember you on Pittsburgh and the Mets. So you're up. So did you have Palmer, Jim Palmer, and Dobson and Dave McNally pitching in '95? Was Earl Weaver still managing then? What a great manager that was. Pitching and defense. And it's the same in football. Pitching and defense, and you win. And you see so many teams go offense. And so many teams. The biggest problem I see in baseball, you got traded from the Mets midseason '95, Ralph Rap Palmeiro. So here's my point. How many good quarterbacks are there? A handful, 7, 8, right? How many good pitchers are there? 5, 6, Scherzer and Verlander, and the guy on Tampa, McCullough, and maybe a guy on the Mets or something. There's maybe 10 good pitchers in Major League Baseball that have an ERA somewhere in the ones and twosies. That's it. But what are you doing? Well, I'm going to pitch every 5 days. That means you need at least 5 or 6 starters, and then your bullpen. God forbid these guys pitch an inning today. Well, we got to sit them down tomorrow. They can't possibly pitch an inning today and an inning tomorrow. So you need 15 major league pitchers on your team, of which do not exist. That's the problem. You maybe have 4 or 5 professional pitchers. Right, and I named you the Baltimore Orioles with Cuellar, McNally, Palmer, and Dobson, right? And then you had I can't remember their bullpen guy. That was it. I mean, the Tigers won with McLean, Lolich, Earl Wilson, and John Hiller. That was it. They had 4 pitchers on their team, and the '84 Tigers had Morris, Petrie, and Rozema, who sucked, and then they had a good reliever. They only had really 3 pitchers. Now you want to go 12, 13 pitchers on your team, and you think you can find 12 or 13 major league pitchers on your team? Are you kidding me? So this is the problem. And then the hitting's so bad. I don't know how many box scores do I see, like the Tigers, 7 of the 9 guys are under 200. And their best hitter is probably 250. So I mean, it's just really a joke what you're seeing with the players. I mean, it just doesn't make sense what they're trying to do. And then it's the same thing in the NFL with the running quarterbacks. They all get hurt. That's why you don't want a running quarterback. You want a guy like Joe Montana, who's a great passer, who could scramble a little when he needed to, or Rodgers, or Mahomes. He's not a runner, but he did that one long run on 3rd and 15, and he ran 30 yards to win the Super Bowl. Okay, that's the exception, not the Lamar Jackson, I'm going to run every time. So when you have that, that's what you're looking for. And that's the point. You're not you can't find that many pitchers that are any good. And now the hitting sucks. and you can't find a 300 hitter. And if you find one, maybe one or two teams has two or three 300 hitters. But you got more teams with 600 or 750 hitters, like the Tigers. Half their team can't hit. Half the team hit 150. Bobby could hit 250 now. At his age, he could out hit half the Tiger team. He'd lay the smackdown on them, that's for sure. So that's really what you have. It's just such stupidity going around. Let's draft Richardson from Florida because he's a good athlete in his shorts. He runs a 4.3 40. It's a quarterback. I don't want a guy who runs 4.3. I'm going to put him at running back. Lamar Jackson should never be a quarterback. He should be a wide receiver. Period. Just like Hines Ward. Period. Hines Ward was a quarterback at Georgia, went and played wide receiver. That's what you do with these guys. They are not quarterbacks, and yet you want to throw them in because they are fast or they're runners. Well, that's not what a quarterback is. He's got to throw the ball to Jerry Rice. That's the quarterback, Joe Montana. That's right, Professor. I'll give them a rock bottom right up top of the dugout. Well, I would personally like the people's elbow ahead of the rock bottom. You could do that. But, yeah, I mean, absolutely. Isn't it disgusting? Most of these teams have 5-6 players hitting in the 150s, and it's not like they're good defensive players. It's not like Mark Belanger, who was a great shortstop. These guys can't they can't play defense either. They can't hit cutoff man. I'm sitting there going, I knew that when I played Little League, to hit the cutoff man and, go first to third based on X and Y. And I knew all that when I was 8, 9 years old. I mean, these guys are in the pros. They can't hit a cutoff man. You're like, oh, my God. What are you guys how are they being taught in minor leagues? And now they're not even going into minor leagues. Yeah, I wonder who Rapp was. Yeah, Cal Ripken. Okay. So you must have done some damage with Palmeiro, Ripken, and you. If you could have added like Hogan and Flair, you would have probably won it all. It's funny how half the guys who couldn't play pro football because they got hurt go to wrestling. I remember Ron Simmons at Florida State. I won so much money. There was a Florida State-Oklahoma game, and I got it as a huge bet. And Oklahoma won 17-16, and I had Florida State in 13, and Ron Simmons was on the team. And I remembered he got hurt in the game, and I'm like, oh, fuck, am I going to lose because he's out? And they looked great, even without Ron Simmons. And then he went to wrestling. So it's funny how Hogan couldn't make the Packers. He was a tackle for the Packers. He did shit, but he goes into wrestling, and they get the charisma. The Rock played at Miami of Florida, but I don't remember him. He probably was like a backup or something. He didn't do the people's elbow enough. I don't remember at Miami in the big games. Lost to the Yankees in American League Championship. Who was on the Yankees? Derek Jeter back then? Mantle? DiMaggio? Lou Gehrig? Who was on the Yankees that beat you? What, Bernie, what's someone call it? Bernie Williams, Derek Jeter. Yeah, Jeter, I think 94 was his rookie card. So he probably came out in 94. And then they were pretty loaded, the Yankees, and they had the pitching. Clemens, I think. That's the series that had Kid Fan put his glove over the fence and Rob Rita's open, making the catch in right field, and they call it a home run that Jeter hit. Well, yeah, it's a Jeter. So they had fixed games in baseball too. That's terrible. See, I don't mind losing. I mind losing when I get cheated. And that's terrible. Yeah, I remember the catch game. Oh, just like the Cubs, and the idiot puts his glove out, and and that leads to a 5-run inning for whoever the hell they were playing for San Francisco, I think. And the Cubs blame the kid. Bartman had to leave Chicago, probably moved to the Ukraine, and now he's caught in a war. So wherever Bartman goes, it's trouble. Derek Jeter, yeah, Bernie Williams, Paul O'Neill, Andy Pettit, Wade Boggs. Yeah, Rivera. Who was your ace in the bullpen? I'm trying to think. Baltimore. Dave McNally, was he still there? Palmer. I don't remember the ace they had in the bullpen. Their bullpen guy. They had a good one in the '70s. If you had Earl Weaver, I think you'd have beat him because I think he'd argued the call. I mean, if you're going to lose to, you lose to Derek Jeter, that's okay. You're not alone there. So did 6 other teams. But that's the thing. Here's Derek Jeter. That's what you need to find, right? You're looking for Derek Jeter. You're looking for that in football. You're looking for Derek Jeter. And I'm saying he's Hooker, and I'm saying he's Hayner, and I'm saying he's Stenson Bennett. That's Derek Jeter, not C.J. Stroud and Richardson. And that's the problem. For some reason, because the guy goes to Ohio State and every other Ohio State quarterback sucked, he'll be different because, he lost to Michigan twice in a row, so he'll be different. Yeah, okay. That's as close to a pro defense as they see in the Big Ten is Michigan's and Penn State's, and then sometimes Ohio State, but they didn't have a good defense the last few years. But it's just ridiculous. But that's what you want to bet on. You want to bet on Derek Jeter. You want to bet on Mickey Mantle and Koufax. You're looking for that in the draft, and that's what I see so well. Being the INFJ, I can see that, and that's what makes me so good as a handicapper. I see those players, and I have Joe Burrow from day one. Every time they're a dog, I bet them, and every time I bet them, they won as a dog. I can see Joe Burrow, what he did in college, putting up 50 points on Alabama, Clemson, LSU. Well, no, he played for Clemson, Georgia, all those teams. Puts up 50 points. You don't think he's going to be a good pro? Give me a fucking break, man. I don't know what you look for so that's where I go with Hooker, man. He put up 50 on Alabama also. He goes to the head of the line. That guy should be the first pick. Yeah, he's injured. So what? It's football. They're all going to be injured. Look at Tagliabue. You drafted him 3rd, and he's played how many games? He's been injured more than he's played. And he had 3 concussions last year. The odds on him playing a full season are 0. He's way too slow. Can't read a defense. Obviously, they get to him. He's got to face Buffalo, and if he faces Baltimore, these good defenses, he's going to get his clock clean because they're just too fast for him. He can't dissect it quick enough. But Hooker can because he did it against Bama for 50 points. See, that's why it's important, and that's why I keep touting that he put up 50 on Alabama because they have a pro defense, and they get to the quarterback quickly, as does Georgia, right? So that's the key is the pocket passers, right? Not the runners, right? So LSU's guy ran and Stroud ran on Georgia, but that's not their forte. The pocket passer like Hooker had no chance in the game. He put up it was 26-13, I believe, and the 7 came late in the game. It was 26-6 late into the 4th quarter. He had no time, right? That's the difference. Georgia's so fast on defense. That's why I love betting against them against Alabama and here and against Hooker was you're not going to have time to throw the ball. And I remember I said that. I remember if you go back to that video, I locked Georgia against Tennessee, and I gave you that reason. He won't have time to throw, and he didn't. But Alabama with a pretty much of a pro defense. And so that's why I discount Alabama's quarterbacks a lot. They play New Mexico State and Appalachian State and, who did they play? Texas, who had no defense. A&M had no defense. And when he came up against they don't schedule Georgia. When he came up against LSU, who's got a decent defense, they lost. And then Tennessee wasn't their defense. They just got outscored. But that's what you're looking for, and that's why I study the college. So when I see Hooker doing that to Alabama, I go, this guy's going to be, how is he not going to be a good pro quarterback? Yes, he's injured. Okay, but he's had the surgery. He'll recover. Same thing with Brock Purdy. He needed a Tommy John. He'll be back. You don't think every quarterback, look at Tagovailoa, had 3 concussions last year. He's there. I don't know how long he's going to be there for, but he's there. And they're all injured. Mahomes had the hurt, what was it, foot or knee, whatever he injured. Oh, no, it was the high ankle sprain. Well, he played injured. And now, now I'm sure he's 100%. And Russell Wilson, all those guys, that's what they do. But it's when they're in there, that's what you're betting on them. So Hooker, I'll be much happier to take Hooker as a dog. We'll see what team he goes to. Then I'm praying he goes to Minnesota or Green Bay. So let's put Hooker at Minnesota, and they're a dog to the Lions or Green Bay. I'm betting a fortune on him. This guy's a fucking winner. I mean, look what Zappy did to Green Bay last year. So that's who I'm going to be betting on, because I know what they did against Alabama, and I know what Bennett did for Georgia, beating Ohio State and then killing TCU. That's the point of watching the games, to get the guy so we know we can trust him when we bet him. I can trust Bennett. I can trust Thompson Robinson. I can trust Haener at Fresno State, and I can trust Hooker. Can I trust Richardson? Absolutely not. I didn't bet Florida at all last year. Can I trust C.J. Stroud? No, he cost me against Michigan 2 years in a row. Can I trust Richard? Can I trust Levis at Kentucky? Probably more than the other two. And can I trust the Alabama quarterback? Absolutely not. Sorry. And if they're going to really bet, see, it's different. If Bennett goes to Pittsburgh, yeah, I can bet on him all day. But if he goes to Houston, whoever goes to Houston's fucked, right? If it's Lamar, if it's C.J. Stroud, they're fucked. They don't have a prayer. Although Houston does have that good running back, but they need defense. They need the Green, the Ham, the Lambert, the Mel Blount. They need those guys first before you start drafting quarterbacks. Drafting a quarterback without a defense is not an answer. As we know, we bet the strong defenses to win, not the strong offenses. That's what doesn't. We bet them over. We don't bet them to win. Zappy is way better than Mac Jones. Exactly. And why did they benched him? He wins 3 games in a row, fucks us all with the Chicago game. When they don't, I'm expecting Zappy. I make a big bet on New England. Oh, they'll kill the Bears. And then he doesn't play Zappy, plays Mac Jones. Are you fucking kidding me? Then I think they went to Zappy like in the end of the second quarter or something. And he led them to a few touchdowns, but the damage was already done. And the great Belichick couldn't handle Fields. Couldn't stop the running quarterback. Good luck. Yeah, because he played well. He did against the Giants. When he was and they're trying to give him credit for the Giants. Bill Parcells and Lawrence Taylor, and you want to give credit to Belichick? Really? Okay. Good luck there, fellas. That's the thing. Anytime you got Lawrence Taylor or Tom Brady, it ain't the coach. Unless he doesn't play the player, it ain't the coach. The coach, get him out there and get out of the way. Just let Lawrence Taylor do his thing. Let Montana do his thing. Let Brady do his thing. Get out of the way. Then you're a good coach. You get in the way, then that's the problem. So that's the NFL draft. Houston should never be taking a quarterback here. What they should do is take the best defensive player with their first few picks. I would trade their 2 pick to get 2 first-round picks and get Iowa State defensive players. Then in the 3rd or 4th round, you can get Bennett, or you can get Thompson Robinson, or you can get Haener. And that's your quarterback, because they are better, but nobody's watching them. Unless the tables change, you don't want C.J. Stroud or Richardson or Levis. Those aren't the best quarterbacks. I don't know where this is fucking coming from that these guys are so good. Just like next year, I heard the top 10 quarterback. They didn't have my guy from Utah. Whatchamacallit on there. Rising. He's not in the top 10 for next year's draft class. Really? Okay. So who's the moron coming up with this shit, right? Again, this is why I teach you constantly about who do you trust. You're the Attack on Wall Street guy. And, well, I got 60 grand. I'm going to listen to Mel Kiper and put it in a fucking real estate investment trust when you're giving people loans that have no credit and no money, and then they default and I have zero instead of buying gold. I'm in Madoff. So instead of questioning these 15% returns and never missing, I get the fuck out and buy gold. And that's what you're doing. You're listening to Mel Kiper, whoever the fuck you're listening to. And again, and you wonder why the same teams suck. Houston, Indy, the Lions, because they don't know what the fuck they're doing. They don't even have the capacity to go after the fucking Joe Greens and Jack Hams and Jack Lamberts. That's how you win. And then Frisco gets it. Baltimore gets it. Cincinnati's doing it. They got much better on defense. Denver had it. I don't know what their defense looks like now. Buffalo is kind of figuring out. They added Von Miller, but he's older and he got injured. And then there you go. They paid Josh Allen all that money. They paid Von Miller all that money. Von Miller gets hurt. They can't replace Von Miller. That's my point. So Bobby brought up Jalen Hurts, paying him $50 million. And what happens? Jalen Hurts, now you've killed yourself to any injury you can't replace. Had it been normal and they didn't pay Josh Allen that money and then Von Miller goes down, you can bring in another, you bring in Ted Hendricks or Hacksaw Reynolds or one of those guys. So, I mean, look what the Niners did. They got Montana and Rice, and what do they bring in? Fred Dean. They bring in the whole San Diego defense. They bring in Hacksaw Reynolds. They bring in Matt Millen, and they got Ronnie Lott and Carlton Williamson. And by the way, they won another Super Bowl with Montana. I think this was the 84 Super Bowl. They didn't have Rice at the time. Rice came in 85. And that's the difference. I mean, you're able to bring in Fred Dean because you're not paying the whole team $1 million. The receivers weren't getting paid, and you didn't have running backs. You didn't have Roger Craig till I think 86, and Rice wasn't getting paid when he started. Ronnie Lott and Montana, but not the kitchen sink. Montana was a third-round pick, by the way. So that's my point. When you start paying the quarterback $50 million and you got a guy like Von Miller and he gets hurt, look what happened to Buffalo. They couldn't beat Cincinnati. They couldn't beat Kansas City. If their life depended on it, they weren't winning the Cincinnati game. And that's the problem. You've got a whole roster, and you're going to have injuries. You've got to be able to bring in Fred Dean. If Von Miller goes down, you got to bring in Fred Dean. You got to bring in Harry Carson or Pepper Johnson. You got to be able to bring in that. Look at the Giants. Had Taylor, Johnson, and whatchamacallit, Harry Carson and all those guys. How do you get 4 stud linebackers on your team, right? Because you pay in Taylor the money, not Phil Simms. And I believe the only reason Phil Simms was on the Giants is he was cheap. They didn't have to pay that guy anything. He's lucky he's in the league. Joe Morris is running back. You had Bavaro. I mean, you didn't have any stud receivers. All the money went to the defense, and you won 2 Super Bowls. You won. You beat a strong Buffalo offense with Jeff Hostetler because you had Lawrence Taylor, Pepper Johnson, all these superstar defensive players. That's how you beat. That's how you beat Buffalo, not with Hostetler. And look what happened. They held Buffalo. It was 20-19, right? The Giants win. Buffalo scoring 40 points a game. Not when you play LT. That's why I love the defense. You bet the defense is under. You bet the defense is a dog, and that's where we win. You don't win with Lamar Jackson. You win with Lawrence Taylor. You win with Ronnie Lott. That's the That's what I figured out is with the defenses. Now in the NFL, they don't really have strong defense. The Niners are about it. Buffalo is fake, and Philadelphia was fake. So KC didn't have one. Cincinnati had a fairly good defense with Burrow and Chase. So that's why I like them as a dog. Their defense got much better. So we're going to watch in the draft who gets the defensive players. I'm Washington State, check. Iowa State, check. Iowa, Illinois, Georgia. Boom, boom, boom. That's it. Those are the 5. You go to USC for a defensive player. No, their defense couldn't stop the win. Neither could UCLA. Utah, okay. Forget Oregon, Washington, Arizona State, Arizona. I mean, you draft defensive players from them, forget about it. Not that they're not, they might have a safety that's good, but generally, I want the studs who played on Washington State who held the Pac-10 to 15 points a game. That's who I want, because if you can hold those guys, you're going to do well. But that's really the key. So that's who we're going to study. And then we're going to bet heavy on Stetson Bennett and Hooker, provided they're smart enough to draft them. I kept bitching about Kellen Moore not playing. What the fuck at Boise? He beat Oklahoma, and then he gets drafted on the Lions. They never play him. What the fuck was that? You had Stafford. Well, he did well. He never won a playoff game. If the Lions would have if they would have traded Stafford and went with Kellen Moore, they'd have probably won a lot more games with Kellen Moore than with Stafford. Kellen Moore is much better. And that's my point. So when I bitch about a guy, Will Grier at West Virginia is really good. I don't know why he ain't playing. You get into a bad team with a bad offense. You get these offensive defensive coordinators that couldn't make a high school team win. And then you wonder why these guys aren't playing better. But that you're at that mercy also. But you watch. I wouldn't be surprised if Hooker goes to the Rams. Let's see. Bennett should go to Baltimore or Pittsburgh. Indy could pick up Hayner or Thompson Robinson and be in a much better shape than picking up Richardson. Minnesota, you give them Hooker, you give them Hayner, forget about it. Then they get Hooker, they'll do serious damage in the playoffs because they have a pretty good defense, I think. And they got the receivers, they got Jefferson. So you put Hooker with Jefferson and the running back, I can't think of his name, from Florida State. His brother was Georgia and he's on Buffalo. God, I can't think of his fucking name. Anyway, and then they got the guy from Boise, he's the backup running back, who I can't think names right now. You put Hooker or Thompson Robinson with Jefferson, forget about it, man. They're gonna win 12, 13 games with that, with a good quarterback, not with Kirk Cousins. Maybe you have Cousins and you bring in Hooker, and then when Hooker's ready, you play him. You're not going to win with Cousins. You haven't. 5 years, you're never going to win with Cousins. You're never, ever going to win with Cousins. He's not a winner. As soon as they pressure him, that's what Stafford is. When they pressure him, he folds. And somehow he won a Super Bowl because they played every game at home in the playoffs and the Super Bowl. And they should not have beat Cincinnati. They wouldn't have beaten last year's Cincinnati team in the Super Bowl because their defense was better. San Diego, give them a couple defensive players. Oakland, they need a coach. They're pathetic. But I have a lot of Raider fans on my Nick and a couple other people are big Raider fans. You talking about the running back, Dalvin Cook's brother? No, I'm talking about Dalvin Cook. The brothers on Buffalo who played at Georgia, who was really good. Yeah, Dalvin Cook is the running back that Minnesota has. So you got Dalvin Cook with Jefferson, and you bring in Hooker, or you bring in Thompson Robinson, or even Bennett, and Minnesota makes the championship game. And I'll add a few defensive players. That's all they need. They give them Hooker and get rid of Cousins, and Minnesota's playing the Niners for the championship. That's all they need. See, that's where you bring in the quarterback, not Houston and Indy. Houston and Indy need a lot more players than that. Tennessee needs a lot more players. Curious who Tennessee will draft. Are they smart enough to draft Hooker? Probably not. And then they lost Henry. Where did Henry go to? What team did he go to? But that's, Tennessee needs a Bennett. Damn, I'm suddenly in the mood for some ice cream. Why ice cream? What, Dalvin Cook gets you ice cream? Did I say Baskin Robbins? Where are we getting ice cream from, Bobby? Vikings. But that's really what you're looking at. So this would be curious who Tennessee drafts. Does Seattle take Bennett? I mean, they could. He's better than Geno Smith. The Giants, they're too stupid to take a quarterback. The Jets probably got Rodgers, but even with Rodgers, he's 39 years old. He's good for a year or two. They'd be good to take Jake Haener or something, or make a trade for Will Grier, who's very good. I think there was another quarterback who's not playing much. Well, Zappy. But that's who you want. And then you got Buffalo's getting old. Micah Hyde and now the linebacker. My mind's gone. Von Miller. So they need to replace those guys, but they still need a running back because Cook. They're not playing Cook, right? Cook should have been the running back from Georgia. They're not playing the guy. He's a stud. So there's other stud running backs from Georgia they could draft. There's stud running backs from Ohio State and Michigan. I don't know if he's a senior or not. He got hurt. He hurt his knee. So be careful. There's Penn State always has a running back. Illinois, I thought, had a really good running back. Really good. Yeah, he was like an All-American, Illinois running back. I don't know if he's senior in the draft or not. And then you just go Texas's running back is okay. Keep in mind, Texas's running back, Robinson, they go play TCU. They lost 17-10. So really, how good is he? They scored 10 points on TCU, who gave up 100 to Georgia. That's my point, and gave up 50 to Michigan. So I don't know how good Bijan Robinson is when you lose to TCU 17-10. And I don't think they put up 20 on Iowa State. So again, yeah, it looks good against Oklahoma, which everybody looks good against Oklahoma because they had no defense. Damn, you're in the mood for Micah Hyde already has DeMar Hamlin as I'm his backup. Yeah. Hamlin, isn't he the guy that got had the heart problem and, faked that one too? I don't know. Buffalo's got defensive problems. If Hyde and Von Miller can't come back, maybe that's why everybody thinks Buffalo is bad. But they can't win with Josh Allen. Yeah, okay, Hamlin. Yeah. Doesn't know how to take a hit, really. So Buffalo's in trouble because but I told you he was a choke from Wyoming. If you listen to my draft video, and I don't like to, I told you so. I won't say that about gold and silver, but see, Josh Allen at Wyoming, I watched the Air Force game. Air Force against Wyoming, he got sacked 7 times. He couldn't read the blitz. And when they got in on him, they sacked him every time. Or he wanted to run, and he had Jones from Green Bay, Adam Jones, who ran for 2,000 yards at Wyoming, and all he did was throw 5-yard passes and get sacked. And everybody's saying, oh, he can throw the ball 100 yards. Who gives a fuck? You got to read the defense and read the blitz and hit the receiver. It's not about I can throw the ball 100 yards. It's about can you hit your own receiver? Can you read coverage? Can you read a blitz? No, he can't. That's when he got killed in Cincinnati. They blitzed him and he was all over. So Yeah, Josh Allen's not he never was the answer. And everybody kind of looked at me like I was an idiot going, because I kept saying he's not that good. Oh, look what he did against Buffalo. Yeah, against what, Miami or New England? That doesn't count. You got to look at him against good teams. And when he got in against KC, he got lucky in that KC, that 38-37 game, because the guys were wide open. It wasn't Josh Allen. It was the KC secondary couldn't cover the wind. That's like when Trevor Lawrence makes a good pass and everybody, oh, look how good he is. Yeah, this wide receiver was open by 20 yards, and you're going to give credit to the quarterback? Okay, let's see the first half of that San Diego game. Yeah, how good it was Trevor Lawrence, 4 interceptions. Yeah, he's a superstar, right? You know how many interceptions Montana threw in 4 Super Bowls? 0. Right? So you want to compare them? Let's what's that term? I can't. It's the Batman movie. He goes, you want to have fun? Let's have fun, or something. You want to get crazy? Let's get crazy. That's the line. And that's the thing. These guys, Josh Allen's a running quarterback. It doesn't work. You got to read blitzes, all right? That's why I say what I say, and people don't get me. You've got to read the fucking blitz. And if you can't read the blitz, you suck. Dak Prescott, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. Let's go down the list. The guys suck because they can't read blitzes and they can't check out of it. That's why Rodgers and Brady and Mahomes are so good. Who's worse, Lawrence or Uglia Buglia? Geez, I got to go with Uglia Buglia. I mean, he's terrible in college. He's going to Oregon State, and I saw where he's going to let loose this year. Didn't he let loose last year? He was on Clemson and he sucked. So I'm not putting a lot of stock. It's a wait and see with Oregon State with the Uglia Buglia this year. It's a strange transfer from Clemson to Oregon State, but this shows you how bad these guys are. He was supposedly the number 1 rated quarterback in high school. He goes to Clemson. The guy sucked. I mean, this is the number 1. I hate to see the number 10 quarterback. He was horrible. And that's the point. And again, nobody will give Bennett credit or Hooker credit, but they want to give Uglia Buglia credit. And that's why Clemson didn't make the playoffs the last 2 years, because you don't have a quarterback. That's what always happens, right? There's a good team. And look at the Dallas Cowboys. In the 70s, they had Staubach. They went to the Super Bowl, 3-4 times. And Oakland was Stabler. And as soon as the quarterback goes, as soon as Staubach gets hurt, Dallas is gone for 10 years. Danny White was there. Montana beat him, and that was the end of Dallas. And then, that's what the teams do. Once they lose the quarterback, Oakland lost Stabler. They were terrible. Then Plunkett had a good year, and then they fell off this thing, and they still don't have a quarterback. Miami had Greasy. They got rid of him. They sucked. Then they got Marino, and they still suck with Marino. It was amazing because Shula forgot that he won the 2 Super Bowls running the ball. And he had Marino, and he never ran the ball. And then he doesn't understand you only win if you got a running attack. You must rest your defense and score in the red zone. So anyway, or Caleb Williams, who will win this year's Heisman Trophy? But Uglia Bugala or Caleb Williams? Well, the best quarterback is clearly Cam Rising, but he won't win it because he's not going to Alabama. Probably whoever the quarterback of Alabama is will win it, no matter how bad he is. The problem is now it goes to the undefeated team. It doesn't go to the best quarterback or the best player. It goes, to the undefeated team wins the Heisman, and it's usually the quarterback. Unless you have Barry Sanders as the running back, it ain't going to the running back. It's never going to the defense. So pretty much it's going to the quarterback of the undefeated or one-loss team. So I don't know. I don't know they're going to go into. I don't think they can beat Utah. Rising's there. They have a very good defense. I don't think USC can beat Utah unless they get a whole lot better defensively. They play the same defensive shit they played last year. Cam Rising should be the Heisman winner, or maybe Penix at Washington. Maybe it's the guy at Oklahoma, Gabriel. Unless he's coming. If he's coming out, I would draft him. He's a good quarterback from UCF. We don't know. Georgia, I guess, signed a real stud. Probably play as a freshman. This guy is supposedly very good. Shouldn't miss a beat, but he's a freshman. It's basically whoever Alabama brings in will win the Heisman. LSU should have got Williams. Well, he's better than the guy from Arizona State, that's for sure. Yeah, USC defense was a complete joke last year. Well, they gave up 43 to UCLA, and they gave up 44 to Utah once and twice. And that's why they didn't. But were they a playoff team? I don't know. Utah was a playoff team that got fucked over. They should have been in ahead of Ohio State. I did not understand that. But I think they lost. They put too much on. When you play a tough schedule, Utah lost to UCLA, and I think they lost to Oregon. And then all of a sudden, they weren't a playoff team. Well, they lost to fucking Oregon. Ohio State only played one good team, Michigan, and lost. They didn't play anybody. That's the problem. So you're rewarding a weak schedule over a tough schedule. Or like, TCU got in. Kansas State should have got in, or Kansas State and Utah both should have been in the playoff. That's why you need 10 teams or so. You could have had Kansas State, who beat TCU. You could have had Utah, who won the Pac-10, and maybe USC or Oregon. Oregon got killed by Georgia the first week, so throw Oregon out, and you could have put them in. So you could have put Utah in the playoff with Kansas State and then TCU, and then you could have put Ohio State in. You could have put Alabama in. You could have put, Tennessee if Hooker played. Oh, Florida, yeah. Did they win 3 games last year? Man, what a stretch taking this Richardson guy. What is going on here? I think it's because he's an athlete. They like to see these athletes pick him. I just don't understand. From a football standpoint, the guy sucks. So I don't get that. But that's what we're looking at. So we're looking at how do we win money. And what we're praying is San Diego gets 2 or 3 stud defensive players from those 5 defensive colleges I gave you. That's really the keys. Who's picking these guys, the stud defensive players? Who's taking the Iowa State guys, the Washington State guys, the Iowa guys? That's because that's what you're looking at. Is Philadelphia drafted 2 Georgia defensive players, and look where they ended up. Green Bay, I think, got 2 also, and they should have been in the playoffs. But Aaron Rodgers did not try in the first Detroit game or the second one. But the guys that drafted the Georgia guys did quite well. Not this year. There's, I think, that one Georgia guy that everybody's trying to knock because he was in a car accident or something. But or he was speeding in a car. Like, oh, nobody speeds in a car. Jesus Christ. If you don't draft players because they speed in the car, who are you going to draft? So that's what I'm like. But that's your catalyst is the defense. I look for Denver to be much better with Sean Payton. Russell Wilson will play much better. Seattle, they need some defensive help. They got the receivers. I don't mind Geno Smith, and then Walker from Michigan State looked really good. So Seattle's very close. Frisco, we got to see what happens with Brock Purdy, but if he's available, if he plays, they'll be right back in the title. If he doesn't, they cannot rely on Trey Lance. Oakland's going to suck this year. So if you're betting, bet Denver to win like 10 games because of Sean Payton. And depending on who San Diego picks up some defense, you bet them to win 10 games. And that means KC's not going to win the 12 or 13 because now they got to play 2 Denvers and 2 San Diegos, and they're not going to win them all. and whoever else they got to play. So again, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, they need Stenson Bennett from Georgia, Thompson Robinson from UCLA, and then Minnesota picks up, or the Rams pick up Hooker. That's how I see it. Indy and Houston, you need much more help than a third-rate quarterback in C.J. Stroud. Maybe if they picked up Hooker, but Hooker's not going to do anything at Houston. He needs to go to a good team like Minnesota and play with Jefferson. That's where Hooker's going to fit. Or Thompson Robinson at Minnesota. Hayner could go to Frisco. He'd fit right in. Or Bennett, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Tennessee. Does anybody know where Henry went? I don't remember. Or is he still on Tennessee? But I'd keep my eye on that team. They need some defense. But basically, it's just, Green Bay, yes, they need a quarterback. They could use Hooker, Minnesota, but not, Indy to get Houston to get C.J. Stroud and Indy to get fucking Richardson. They'll be drafting 1-2 next year and the year after because they're not picking up the good defensive players because it's cheaper and you can get more good players like a New England did with Brady or like San Francisco's doing without a quarterback, although Purdy looks good, but now they got the studs on defense. Philly will not win. If they're going to pay Hurts $50 million or $40 million a year, that's the end of Philly because you can't keep the other guy. You can't have backup defensive players that you're going to pay more than $52 because you don't have any room. And nobody's worth $50 million in NFL. He will get hurt doing these stupid quarterback sneak pushes. I'd lay him out, man. I would lay him out. I'd get some, who's that guy played on from Boston College. He played on Frisco. He played on Denver and Frisco. Real dirty player. The linebacker, I can't think of his name. That's who I'd get. This was back in the 90s. I can picture him. But that's who I get. Get Bubba Smith, get a player like that, stick him in the middle and just lay out Hurts. That's what I would do. That's what I miss about the game is those layouts where they would just, kill the guy. That's why you watch football. You don't watch it. Oh, they touched him, he's down, or let's have 5 guys push Jalen Hurts 2 yards. What the fuck is that? That isn't football. That's absolutely ridiculous. And you just puke. You're like, what the fuck? Who's bringing this into football? Anyway, so we'll talk. We'll keep an eye on the draft. Let's see what our gold COMEX is doing now. The bullshit gold. And the bullshit gold is at what? Silver still 25.15 doing nothing. Gold's 19.89 up 6.50. So from the price fixing at 10 a.m. and it goes down to 19.77. That is not an ounce of gold being sold. That's the London Exchange price fix. And from there it goes up to 19.90. So even though but nobody is selling an ounce of gold. That's being recorded here. So anyway, that's what we have. And I know we haven't heard this in a while because I've been on vacation.
Oh, will you pause it real quick? Smell what the Rock is cooking.
And I think we all smell what he's cooking in the NFL. So we all smell what the Rock's cooking with these quarterbacks. We get it. Okay, I think that's about it. Any other questions? Gold, silver, look out. They're going through the roof very soon. No, I don't know the exact time and date. And I don't really know. I keep expecting to wake up, go into my gold, silver, and see 10,000. I don't think it's going to go up 100 and 200 and 300 because that's all paper. I think you're going to see 2,500, 3,000, 5,000, 10,000. I don't see it going up $5 at a piece. I think it's either going to be COMEX or it's going to be physical. And once it hits physical, it's 20,000. Same thing with silver. I don't think you're going to see $30 silver. I think it goes 25, it goes 100, it goes 500. And I think that's what's going to happen. That's why I'm kind of warning you to buy it now, because you can live with yourself if you buy 10 more ounces and it takes another 3 months to go up. And we know it's going up. You can't live with yourself if you don't buy it at 25, 30 and it goes to 500. And then you're like, fuck, I could have bought another 20 ounces. And now look, because we know that's where it's heading. I mean, it's not, will it go? It's when will it go, right? We know that. We know these are going through the roof. We know that the U.S. is fucked because they're following the Chinese thing. They're all run by Keynesians who think you can just keep printing and printing and printing. So with that said, we know what the outcome is. We know the Titanic. We know this has hit the iceberg, right? That's not, is it going to hit the iceberg? We know it's hit it. Now, even the Titanic hit the iceberg and it took 4 or 5 hours to sink, right? So it's not, it hit the iceberg, it's sunk right now, but I'd be looking for a lifeboat real quick if you haven't. I know we talked to I can't remember the guy yesterday, and he hadn't bought in gold, and he's thinking, well, I'll buy it now. And I'm like, if you can find it, and you can find it at this price, because now you're paying 2,100 for it. If you can find an ounce of gold, good luck there. So, I mean, you can't even find it, and you're going to pay 2,100 for it. And it's still going to be cheap when it hits, when you add the zero to the end and it's 21,000, you're going to be still glad you bought it for 2,100. But that's really the point of it, is that's what you're looking for. And, I don't know what else to say, but KGB ate the Oreo cookie. He's got a hand because he ate the cookie. So you're always looking for action, reaction. That's what you're looking for. We know they've inflated, they printed, it's gone. We know gold and silver are going to go through. We already got the action. We know what the reaction is going to be. And JP Morgan and the US can fight it for a while, but not too long. And then here comes China, Russia, and the BRICS countries going, we need gold to go up, and gold goes up. And that's, maybe it's June 1st, maybe it's August 1st. It's coming, and it's coming this year. And, we know this is going out. And I think you start seeing when they start making adjustments, well, how are you going to pay me when the U.S., I almost asked that in the interview, how are you going to pay me when the U.S. dollar goes out? Can I get paid in gold and silver? How are you going to, they're going to have a new dollar come out so people can get paid and buy stuff. You got to keep the market going. You have to have the medium of exchange. You can't live without a way to buy groceries and pay for your heat and get paid for your job. So they need to put something else on the table. And they're not ready for gold and silver. I don't know. How would I get paid for work? How would you guys get paid in gold and silver? And how would you buy milk and bread and eggs and steaks and pig ears? How would you buy that if you don't have the dollars to do it? How are you? Well, I got an ounce of silver. Wait a minute, it's worth $1,000. What is the value of a steak? Oh, well, it's $15. So why would I give a whole ounce of silver for it? So there has to be this huge repricing that has to go on. And that's their downfall. You can't, it's a market. You can't just do that. So that's why they have to come out with a new dollar, and that's why the CBDC will never work. It'll work like Bitcoin works. So if you want Bitcoin, you can get it, but it's not money and it's not gold. Don't forget that. Bitcoin is not money. Gold and silver are money, period. Bitcoin is not money and it's not limited. 21 million is not limited when I have a Tom Brady rookie card of 366. And that's not limited, but it's 366. I got 25 count Brady's and Barry Sanders. That will count as limited. Not 21 million is not limited. And it's not money. I can't take it to the grocery store and use Bitcoin. I could take silver to my barbecue place and get ribs with the silver. He'll take it. So it is money. And Rolex, you can have a value with a Rolex, you can have a value with the mantle card, but they're not money, but they're assets that will retain their value. And that's the key. The housing, you got interest rates to fuck with. And who's going to be able to buy your house? See, that's the really thing. Who's going to be able to buy your house? I'm not worried about people buying gold and silver. They're going to need it. They're going to sell their stocks for it. But you're going to sell the stocks to buy a house? I'm going to give you an ounce of gold for your house, but not stocks. So that's what you have. So that's what's coming. We just don't know when. It'll be soon. But you've got to get the concept. Is it going to be an NFL? Is it going to be a Super Bowl champion? Yes. Well, who is it? I can't tell you now. I can only tell you the Super Bowl is the first Sunday in February. But I can't tell you who's going to be in it or the winner. But I can tell you February. I can't tell you gold and silver when they go up in price, but they will go up in price. So that's about what it's equal to. To try to give you the Super Bowl winner, I can't tell you now, but I can tell you gold and silver will go up quite a bit, and I don't know when it'll stop. It'll just keep running and running and running, and the more people that realize and jump into it will lead more people into it. Will lead to a higher price. The more the demand, the higher the price. And as all these Americans start buying it and getting out, so right now they're getting out of the banks because they're fair and they're buying stocks and they're buying Bitcoin. That's why Bitcoin went up. And once they realize that's not the safe haven anymore, then they get into gold. When the stock market starts collapsing, when these countries pull their money because they need money, right? So China and Russia and Germany all have money in our stock market. So as they start pulling it out, the stocks are going to crumble. So it's not just the U.S. people in the U.S. stock market, right? So rich guys in Russia, China, and Germany, and Italy and France, and all the mafia have their money in the stock market are going to realize that the money is becoming worthless. And as the market, they start pulling their money out. Then they're going to look for where do I put it? That's when it gets into gold and silver. That's when it really goes through the roof. So that's who we sell it to is the Russian mafia wants gold, or the Italian mafia, they want gold. They'll afford the 50,000 an ounce out of petty cash. So that's who we'll be selling it to indirectly. But again, you can't ask when. It's not a when question. It's not 7 p.m. on July 1st, right? There is no answer to that question, only that BRICS is making it go physical, which will make it go through. So I can answer that it will go up because of BRICS and it'll get off of COMEX onto physical. That I can answer. I can't answer the exact date and time because nobody knows. I don't know who's controlling that or what. I think it's Russia, China wanting, as soon as they're settled with how they're going to do their BRICS, do their gold-backed currency, then that's when we will see that. That's what we're looking for. But the U.S. dollar is gone. It's zero. It's just they don't know it yet. It's sort of like a football game. You're down 28-0. You've lost the game, right? You just don't know you've lost it. They come out. Lawrence Taylor's beating up everybody, right? The Giants are going to win. You got to play the game out, and that's what you got. The dollar's gone. It's just you got to play to get there, and that's it. So anyway, with that, think I'll do my drug test and be all ready to start work in a couple of weeks. Try to fix my back, which is still sore. I've been icing it all day. I don't know. I heard to go to a massage, get a hard massage, and then I've heard of chiropractor. And one girl told me the chiropractor broke three of her vertebrae in her back, the chiropractor, trying to crack her back. Is it the chiropractor? Did she have weak bones? I don't know. But when you hear stories like that, you don't run to the chiropractor. But I know the massages, I don't know. I honestly don't know what to do. So I'm doing fasting. So right now I'm fasting today. So I ate dinner at 5 o'clock yesterday. Oh, it was Sunday. I finished my Chinese. So we're at close to 24 hours now. We are not eating today, and I am not eating tomorrow. That'll take me 48 hours. And that, if it takes me to dinner time Wednesday, will be 72 hours. No, 24, 48. Yeah. So I'll eat Wednesday, either lunch or dinner, to see how much I can. But I am planning not to eat today, and I'm planning not to eat tomorrow. So, Bobby, you got to get the balls and join me for a nice 72-hour fast. You kind of dicking around with your 25-hour fast. It's time to step up into the ring and face the rock and go 70 hours already. Anyway, that's about it. So I am out. Have a nice day. Keep your eye on the draft. We'll watch gold and silver. Not much about poker today. I've hammered that pretty good. The economy, we know it's all what the market will bear. So we will see. The banks, they're all going out. It's just a matter of time. Get your money out of the banks, get it into your safes, get it into gold and silver. It's the only thing that's a sure bet that you can't lose, and you're controlling it. You buy it, you got the coin, you got the coins in your hand. There is no Madoff. Oops, he doesn't have any money. There is no attack on Wall Street where the broker says, "Oh, you got zero now. We fucked up." You don't have that. You got the gold in your hands, and it's going up. It's a no-brainer. There's no risk. You come up with something else that has no risk. I'd like to hear it, because there isn't anything. Bitcoin has risk. House has risk. They're going down. Stock market, we know, has risk. So you tell me, what doesn't? Rolex, okay, probably won't go down, but it's not money. Mickey Mantle cards, yeah, probably not a lot of risk. Again, that's probably it. It's got to be a real asset that has no risk, and it's something that you own. To have no risk, you have it in your hand, because they can't print it, right? Your money, you might not get the money out of the bank because they might not have it. You're going to get the stock market crushed. Your house is going to lose value. All those things you can't control are all going to happen. But if you have a mantle card in your hand, or you have gold, you want gold and silver because it's much easier to trade and get money out of it than the Mantle card or the Brady card or the Jordan card. But those aren't bad. A Rolex, $20,000 Rolex, probably go to $30,000. How are you going to sell it? If you got to sell it at the jeweler, you'll get fucked because he won't give you the $30,000. Can't go to a coin store with it. You can't go to the bank with it. So it gets a little harder to sell than the gold and silver, because we can go right to the store, or maybe the bank will take it. I don't know. But what they say is there'll be a lot more stores popping up that'll buy our gold. So when you start seeing that, it's ready to jump. All right, everybody, have a good day. www.teaserking.com. Go there, you get my email. You can email me, and I will certainly respond. And I think that's about it. I got to go pee into a cup and pass a drug test. All right, everybody, have a wonderful day. Thank you very much, and I hope I helped. And www.teaserking.com. Take care, everybody.